goal. And then Czechia, they handle France 6-3. Starting at the same time as the U.S. women, the Canadian men are going to be on the ice. They take on Switzerland, while the U.S. men, they are next in action tomorrow at 3 when they face Denmark. And then in college hoops, Niagara, they play host to Manhattan tonight just after 6:30. That game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
My dad's not here right now. He's still at work. So I'm going to bless him.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I'm going to see if there's a clean version so that my parents and the people at my school will not get mad at me. We've got the spritzer filled with water just in case if stuff gets too fire. I'm going to set up the speaker and I'm going to listen to
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I think this is the best
Mike Schopp
feature that I've heard in a long time. I think his flow is really good in it, and I like his aggressiveness on it, and
the Bulldog.
Put not enough effort in it. I think overall his flow was good, but I don't like that mobile rapping. That was my review of
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Didn't need the spritzer. Wasn't fire enough. No spritzer for you. No spritzer.
This can be short. No pun intended, but this new world where we can't get in here until like 2:56, coupled with my continuing decline in how my headphones work, I need an extra like 20 minutes to sort of
just get your headphones
wiggle
working.
this thing. Look at me right now. This is
Maybe it's time.
Literally, you can see me. I know, but.
Throw yourself on a new pair of headphones. I did finally remember to bring the ones I had been using. One ear broke. Eventually the other ear broke. And I had a pair of headphones that I impulse bought in the airport one year going on a trip because I had forgotten to bring headphones. And I went to, have you ever bought something like that, like earpods or AirPods or something from the vending machine at the airport? And these are not wireless, which was fine at the time, and good now because wireless wouldn't help me in here. I don't know how to. I wouldn't know how to hook that up.
See, that should change too.
That probably should. Yeah, like if we wanted to use wireless, we maybe should be capable of doing that. And maybe we are. I just have never asked.
No, I don't think we are. Well, I guess I don't know.
But anyway, these. I feel like. I don't know. I'm 60. I don't know how much longer I have to run, but I'm pretty confident these might be my last headphones. Because I am what I'm doing now.
Over under.
What I'm doing now that I've never done before is carrying them back and forth. I'm not leaving them here so they're at the mercy of someone who comes in and is scrambling around like you could be if you can't get your headphones working and you just go in there and the producer says, "Well, I think Bulldog has a set in his little cubby there."
Yeah, never be that guy.
Right? So nobody can do that to my headphones anymore because they're in my. I have a bag.
You have a bag now.
I'm carrying a bag.
Yeah, I know.
And the headphones are going in there. So I'm very meticulous about caring for my gear. So I think I'll have a good long run with these babies.
I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
17 games, right? It's still 17 games in an NFL season.
Football
Next year,
season,
the Bills will play 17 regular season games.
17 games, yes.
Don't think about it. Over under. How many starting quarterbacks they'll face do you think you could name right now? Half?
Don't think about it. Boy, I think more than half.
9. At least 9.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's play.
Okay.
I'm going to try to do this by how likely it is that we do actually know. New England twice.
Okay, I mean, that's easy.
Right?
Yep.
We're not going to penalize anybody for injuries here. We're not betting real money. So if there's an injury to somebody, then don't worry about it. So May twice. That's 2. Chargers.
Easy.
Herbert. Bears.
Also easy.
Caleb Williams.
Say Lions.
I'm thinking. Are they the next likeliest? They might be.
I think
Okay.
I think so.
Fine. Detroit. 5.
Mm-hmm.
Denver. Well, Green Bay in Denver. Green Bay.
To me,
That's not going anywhere.
new. Neither of those guys are going anywhere.
Jordan Love, 6. Knicks, we're putting him on the field. Week 1, probably even.
Yeah, he had a broken ankle. That heals faster
That's
than an
nothing.
ACL or anything else.
All right, that's 7. Baltimore? Yes.
Well, yes, I doubt that's going to fall apart. They fired the coach. They've made their choice.
8.
So he's there for sure.
Houston?
Yes, but in order of likelihood, I would say Rams before I say Houston, because Stafford has already said he's coming back, and if he says he's coming back, then he's coming back.
That's
and
binding?
He will be the Rams quarterback. They are not going to say, "Oh, it's nice and cute that you wanted to come back, but we're going to go into the market."
No, right.
So
I agree with that.
hey, that's it. That's done. I think.
All right,
that's
so
done.
Rams 9, Houston 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not concerned with the order.
Oh, okay. When you started, when I said
I-
Lions, you made me think you were trying to
No.
create some hierarchy.
No, I was for like likelihood counting these down, but I'm not making a list or anything like that. So Raiders,
Oh, right. That'll be Mendoza. Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
That's 11.
Yeah. And you didn't mention the Chiefs yet.
I know.
I mean,
Because
it
of
depends
when
on
you play them.
Yeah, right. If for some reason, but see, we've already. Well, I'm saying we've already talked this up. We've mentioned it a time or two. It'll get talked about a lot more. They're not going to put that game on. They're going to have the Chiefs come here on Sunday night to open the season until they know that Mahomes, and it's not going to line up. They're not going to know in May when the schedule comes out mid-May whether or not the Chiefs are going to have Mahomes week 1.
They might have some idea.
I still think it's too risky.
Okay, then that's 11.
Yeah.
And what's left? Miami twice, Jets twice,
Right.
Minnesota.
Right. That's it.
That's it. We're at 12 then? Yeah, Chiefs are 12. That's right. Chiefs were 12. Well, okay. I wanted this to be better.
Don't we
I
all?
wanted this to be more interesting. But really, the idea that, the premise that, the Bills next year, there could be some changes as to who they face at quarterback is really more just the Jets and the Dolphins will have new quarterbacks and the Vikings, maybe. Right. And that's it.
Right.
That's the whole list.
The Vikings could still have J.J. McCarthy, and so that could be static. But yeah, the Dolphins and Jets are the only sort of ambiguity you've got about who their quarterbacks are going to be, I think, on next season Bills schedule.
Well, it's still 4 games, and it's still, of course, significant that the Dolphins might be moving on from Tua. I mean, that's been an era.
Holy cow. I think there's no question they're moving on. There was a clip of the GM doing, like, I don't know if it's a fan fest or whatever, but he's up on a stage and there's a personality. I don't know if it was a reporter or just a host or whatever. So what's the plan with Tua? And I mean, he just said so many words. I mean, salad doesn't even do it justice. It was just
Salad bar.
Yeah, right, with soup.
It was a salad bar.
it's just going. He'll be the first to know when we know. We're very close to making a determination, but we're certainly not going to tell you before we tell him.
This is Jeff Halfley?
That's the coach. This is the new GM.
Okay.
And I can't remember his name. I don't have it.
It's 3 names.
John Eric Sullivan.
Thank you, Zach.
Jeff Halfley, that's not the Wimpy Kid book kid? Jeff Halfley? I don't think it is. Close, though.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right, so.
That's over.
You think that's over?
I would be, at this point, I'm going to say stunned if they don't move on from.
Does he start somewhere else? I don't know how they get out of that. There might be a way to do it. There's always a way.
Sure.
Depending on how much you want to pay.
Yeah, they're gonna have to eat. I mean, that's it. But ever since Denver did it, and that was $80 million.
Wilson?
Yeah. Ever since that, it's like nothing's off the table. Again, and they contended right away. Like they drafted Knicks and were in the playoffs. Like, right? That was the year they bought out Wilson 2 off seasons ago, and then drafted Knicks and went to the playoffs.
Wilson went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And then the Giants last year.
Right.
So he's been on 4 teams in 5 years.
I guess that's right.
Is he done?
No.
So we talked to Sal a couple days ago about that little quarterback game we've played in the past, and I sucked him into joining us today with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm sort of starting here with
I understand.
quarterbacks, because there are lots of them that might be worth talking about for some of these teams. What are Miami's options, for instance? A trade for like Mac Jones or somebody, a free agent, Malik Willis is one,
Yep.
a draft pick, I guess, but there doesn't really seem to be one that would go before the second round. And if maybe that's a thing they do, I don't know. Maybe it's like a possibility.
Yep.
Jets are kind of the same in this, almost across the board, the Jets. They just don't have Tua.
Yeah, they don't have a big whale to get rid of.
They have Fields.
Right, and that's a
under
little,
contract.
that's a little bit of, that's like a
dolphin.
Yeah, good size.
If you will.
Oh, wow, there you go. Yeah, do they have to move on from him? I mean,
Fields?
Yeah.
Well,
They probably should if they want to be
they probably
any
will.
good.
Same coach.
Yeah. Same coach that benched him.
They've got to, right, yes.
Yeah, that's probably over.
They benched him. They also tried to bench him and couldn't at one point. Like, they're going to be looking for somebody else, whoever that might be. This is like a little bit of a, well, why wouldn't it be, right? The Bills schedule. A microcosm of your point from the other day when we talked about this. Like, there aren't as many teams as you think that are going to be necessarily looking for someone new. A team like Miami or Arizona, you might it might smell like they're going to be in the market, but they don't necessarily have to be in the market.
Yeah, they both have guys who have been good in the league very recently. It's a matter of whether they're done with it or not because of personality, or they're just, like Miami benched Tua. Murray was hurt. Was he healthy and then they didn't let him back?
Yes.
Right? Okay, so
he could have. I think he could have come back, but they manufactured.
Yeah.
No, he's not able to come back.
Right, but it smelled.
He
probably.
definitely could have.
Yeah,
I think he. What do I know? But I think he could have. It sounded like he could have.
So they're very similar then. They have guys who have won some games, have a certain
Been to the playoffs.
level of good. Okay, right, but they effectively benched them, and that isn't always irretrievable. I mean, but I doubt they find their way back. I don't think they want to. I don't think either team wants to find their way back to those guys being their starters. Be interesting if they just swapped. Murray ended up in Miami, and Tua ended up in Arizona. That would be something.
Well, 62 different players started games at quarterback last season in the NFL, 2025. And we have a few potential openings. Maybe the Browns start somebody from the outside, or maybe they start Shadur Sanders, or maybe they start Deshaun Watson if he's able to play. Does someone like Marcus Mariota have a seat at somebody's table? He's had enough chances, probably, but he isn't the worst you could do. We mentioned Russell Wilson. What happens there? Does he retire? What would you do there? I think if I'm Russell Wilson, trying to keep, my dignity, if I'm not going to start, I kind of want to go. I'm ready to go.
And I wonder how his personality, if you came to me and said, hey, what about Russell Wilson to back up Josh Allen? I might go,
no.
I'm not sure I really see a fit there. Like he's had a reputation as being kind of eccentric, if that's the right word there. I'm just not sure. He's a little like Cam Newton to me. Like I think playing him, he's accomplished a lot in the league, and so you might feel some comfort in that. But I would just be worried that he would just be disruptive in some way, Wilson. So I'm not, and I don't know that I'm right about that. Talent usually is what carries the day. But if you're talking about settling into we want him to mentor our young guy or something, I don't know that that's your guy.
I think this is a little bit unfortunate for our purposes, but the question of who the Bills' backup could be or should be is really not that interesting of a question, because I don't think really we're far past the point where someone with a certain amount of experience really seems to have value, because Allen has enough experience. Like that isn't anything anymore.
Right, they don't need someone to show him what's what anymore.
No, so you wouldn't need somebody that's on the older side. Really, what you probably would want is what they've been doing. Somebody that has some physical ability, like he's at least credible as a backup option rather than a rookie. I kind of am ready. I'm not ready, but looking forward a little bit, just again, as we talk every day about them, to the day where maybe like a quarterback in the draft is not the worst idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like a day 3 quarterback or somebody. New England did a lot of that.
Yeah, lots of it, actually.
When Brady was, still great. So something like that, eventually, maybe that day comes and we're not really talking about a replacement or a successor, but just, I don't know, like really what it's become is somebody familiar, right? Trubisky was an interesting, I think, a credible enough idea in the first place, and now he's that, plus having been around, in the system for a couple of years now, or a few. So, I don't know. Like, I really don't know that I need to do anything else but that. And that could be a different person. That could be someone else who's kind of like the same profile, but just not Trubisky, who could also be somebody that maybe another team is interested in. We'll see. I don't know. But I guess I wanted there to be more teams on the Bills. I have to say it.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. On the Bills schedule where it's unclear who the Bills will face in those games. But for a couple of injury, situations like Mahomes, obviously, it's really not so much that. It is more just about that the Jets and the Dolphins will probably have someone new.
Right.
A new era. Another new era for the Jets, who have a new era every year.
Yeah, there just aren't that many. We counted. We mentioned, I think, every team in the AFC except Indianapolis. That could be a question, right? You mentioned Cleveland, the Jets and Dolphins, Browns. You mentioned Colts. I think are the only other team. Oh, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is going to probably. I guess they could bring Rodgers back. That'll play out into July, right? Isn't that kind of what happened last year? At least into June, I think. So maybe that'll be, not that those teams are on the Bills' schedule, but just mentioning like where, for this game we've played with Sal in years past, when I counted them up, there just weren't that many teams. The NFC's got Arizona and Minnesota, and that might be it. Yeah. Because Atlanta is going to probably wait for – they might have somebody else on opening day, but like Penix, I think, is still their guy. They're going to want to try to see that through.
New coach.
Yeah, okay. That could complicate things. But that might be a place that goes looking for – because they've set themselves up to unload Cousins. I think the way the money is work, they converted something that makes it easier for them to walk away from him in like around the first day of the league year or something. So they could go looking for one of the guys we've already mentioned, Trubisky even, just someone to sort of, we think Penix, we're confident he'll be back soon, but we need a buffer just in case.
Someone who is maybe like Cousins but isn't Cousins because he's not as expensive.
Right, exactly. I think if they weren't looking to offload Cousins, they wouldn't have done what they did with the contract.
Didn't Joe Flacco say he wanted to keep playing?
I think he did, yeah.
Okay.
Should probably start factoring him into this.
Do we want him?
As backup?
Yes. Does it matter? Like, no, I think I don't. But
I don't love it.
I feel like now that we have John Fox, we should probably want like Joe Flacco or Tannehill or Newton or Grogan. We should probably want somebody from,
only if Grogan wears
before
wears the horse collar. That's the only
before high def.
Yeah.
We probably should want somebody like that as a fit. Okay, Andy Dalton. Does he play again? Does he start somewhere again? Is he just going to be somebody's backup and that player will get hurt and then he'll play?
Probably, yeah.
Nice living.
Yep.
Trey Lance, done.
Holy cow.
There was a Bills Trey Lance rumor once.
I almost hope that each year we do this, I forget that Trey Lance exists. Because I completely have not thought about him one time at all.
And then I mentioned him, and it's kind of a cool moment.
It's kind of like, oh, yeah. He's still, what is he, like 25? Like, he's not that, 26 years, he's not that old, right? He still has barely played. Going back to college, he barely played college and got drafted, barely played in the NFL, and is on, like, what, a third team?
He is 25.
Wow.
And he's on his third team.
He seems like he should be like 40 at this point. He's been on the, in the conversation, but I have completely forgotten about him. Where is he right now?
Chargers.
Chargers. Wow.
Yeah. Their last game, they didn't need it, so he played.
How'd that go? No idea.
Well, I know his stats, 20 for 44 and an interception. I know that much.
Yeah, that's more than I knew.
That was the game in Denver where there might have been some seeding meaning to that game, but nobody took it. That like the Chargers could have moved up, but they sat Herbert because they preferred having the rest for him than and playing him. So, and that didn't really work out at all because they went to New England and did nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Chris Oladukin. What about him as an idea?
Sorry, what's that now?
Chris Oladukin.
Oh, wait, yeah, he played for somebody this year. Who? 2
starts for Kansas City. Or 2 games.
Right.
1 start, then Minshew got hurt right away. Post Mahomes injury.
Okay.
Almost said post Malone. Post Mahomes injury. And then Oladokin started a game. Stats are not the worst you've ever seen. Kenny Pickett.
That's Philadelphia?
Yep.
Still, right?
Is that all the way over? Don't they like Tanner McKee? He got a start.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard with the Colts. Notre Dame.
He did some things.
He did a little bit, and then they signed Phillip Rivers out of high school coaching to play over him.
Yeah, that's right. And by things, I mean, I don't know. I've seen him remember 1 scramble. Maybe that's
Riley
it.
Leonard?
Yeah, like a run. That's what I've got, I think. But don't hold me to that.
Well, there are a lot of names this year. Maybe there are not a lot of openings, but there are a lot of names.
That's right.
There are only so many backup jobs. And there aren't that many interesting, promising rookies. It's going to be a down year for that in our discussions. You only have one guy that, well, he's going to be 101, Mendoza, but as a first-round pick, you might not have any other quarterbacks in the first round. I'm not the authority on that.
I bet you end up. I bet
the
Simpson kid goes in the first round just because there's nobody
can
else.
Control themselves.
Right.
I did like him when I saw him, and then apparently he got bad. Maybe he got hurt.
I don't know if he got hurt, but yeah, he had like 4 picks in his last 6 games and just was not impressive down the stretch.
Didn't they beat Georgia this year, and he was good?
That sounds perhaps.
I mean, I don't watch a lot of college football, but I think I saw that happen. Coming up, Sam Panayotovich, chicken dinner. He'll join us after the break. Matt Verderam today, Sal Capacio as well. Thanks for being with us. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. It is Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
Watch out. That is big. Sammy P. after the break here on WGR. This new world where we can't get in here until like 2:56, coupled with my continuing decline in how my headphones work. I need an extra like 20 minutes to sort of
just get your headphones
wiggle
working.
this thing. Look at me right now. This is
maybe it's time.
Literally, you can see me. I know, but
throw yourself on a new pair of headphones. I did finally remember to bring the ones I had been using. One ear broke. Eventually, the other ear broke, and I had a pair of headphones that I impulse bought in the airport one year going on a trip because I had forgotten to bring headphones. And I went to, have you ever bought something like that, like ear pods or
Yep.
AirPods or something from the vending machine at the airport? And these are not wireless, which was fine at the time, and good now because wireless wouldn't help me in here. I don't know how to. I wouldn't know how to hook that up.
See, that should change too.
That probably should. Yeah. Like if we wanted to use wireless, we maybe should be capable of doing that. And maybe we are. I just have never asked.
No, I don't think we are. Well, I guess I don't know.
But anyway, these. I feel like I don't know. I'm 60. I don't know how much longer I have to run, but I'm pretty confident these might be my last headphones. Because I am what I'm doing now.
Over under.
What I'm doing now that I've never done before is carrying them back and forth. I'm not leaving them here so they're at the mercy of someone who comes in and is scrambling around like you could be if you can't get your headphones working and you just go in there and the producer says, "Well, I think Bulldog has a set in his little cubby there."
Yeah, never be that guy.
Right? So nobody can do that to my headphones anymore because they're in I have a bag.
You have a bag now.
I'm carrying a bag.
Yeah, I know.
And the headphones are going in there. So I'm very meticulous about caring for my gear. So I think I'll have a good long run with these babies.
I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
17 games, right? It's still 17 games in an NFL season.
Football
Next year, the
season,
Bills will play 17 regular season games.
17 games, yes.
Don't think about it. Over under, how many starting quarterbacks they'll face do you think you could name right now? Half?
Don't think about it. Boy, I think more than half.
9. At least 9.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's play.
Okay.
I'm going to try to do this by how likely it is that we do actually know. New England twice.
Okay, I mean, that's easy.
Right?
Yep.
We're not going to penalize anybody for injuries here. We're not betting real money. So if there's an injury to somebody, then don't worry about it. So May twice. That's 2. Chargers.
Easy.
Herbert. Bears.
Also easy.
Caleb Williams.
Say Lions.
I'm thinking. Are they the next likeliest? They might be.
I think
Okay.
I think so.
Fine. Detroit. 5.
Mm-hmm.
Denver. Well, Green Bay in Denver. Green Bay.
To me,
That's not going anywhere.
new. Neither of those guys are going anywhere.
Jordan Love, 6. Knicks, we're putting him on the field. Week 1, probably even.
Yeah, he had a broken ankle. That heals faster
That's
than
nothing.
an ACL or anything else.
All right, that's 7. Baltimore? Yes.
Well, yes, I doubt that's going to fall apart. They fired the coach. They've made their choice.
8.
So he's there for sure.
Houston?
Yes, but in order of likelihood, I would say Rams before I say Houston, because Stafford has already said he's coming back, and if he says he's coming back, then he's coming back.
That's
and
binding?
He will be the Rams quarterback. They are not going to say, "Oh, it's nice and cute that you wanted to come back, but we're going to go into the market."
No, right.
So
I agree with that.
That's it. That's done. I think.
All right,
that's
so
done.
Rams 9, Houston 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not concerned with the order.
Oh, okay. When I said Lions, you made me think you were trying to create some hierarchy.
No, I was for likelihood counting these down, but I'm not making a list or anything like that. Raiders.
Oh, right. That'll be Mendoza. Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
That's 11.
Yeah. And you didn't mention the Chiefs yet.
I know.
I mean,
Because
it
of
depends
when you play them.
Yeah, right. If for some reason, but see, we've already talked this out. We've mentioned it a time or two. It'll get talked about a lot more. They're not going to put that game on. They're going to have the Chiefs.
USA women facing Italy in the Olympic quarterfinals. No score. About midway through the first period, U.S. with a heavy advantage in shots on goal, but they have not yet scored.
Were you tempted to say solved the Italian netminder?
No, I thought of something more cliche even than that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with myself that I avoided, tickled the twine or one of those. Thank God.
Find the back of the net.
Thank God. I know it's half the goals where announcers say the back of the net. The puck doesn't even make it to the back of the net. But you can't say the net anymore. You have to say the back of the net, or else you're not cool.
Yeah, I guess.
Thank God I helped get us here. What is there to bet on right now?
I blame myself because you were ready to move on, and I had to tweak you about the netminder.
Football is over. It's NBA All-Star Weekend, if you want it. We have the Olympics. Raise your hand if you're betting on the curling right here. Thank you. Mixed results so far. But if you're Sam Panayotovich, I don't know if you might. Well, you might bet anything, but you might not have to mess around with this esoterica. You might just bet next year's NFL already. And I respect that.
I made a bet last night. I know we're going to talk about it, but it's funny. The thing I'm looking at right now, there's a market on who will be the next James Bond, and I'm ready to make a bet. I
have never seen a James Bond movie.
Well, that's not surprising. I'm not surprised by that one bit.
No, I've never seen, it's probably been on in a room I was in, like Dr. No or one of those. But, that was the first James Bond movie. I had a friend whose dad was into it.
Yeah.
But I never really watched it.
I'm also not
surprised.
I am. I don't know. It's just, it seems like something you'd like. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I don't know. Martinis and cool cars and suits and glamour.
Some of that is me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Murder. Don't forget murder.
Murder. Of course, there's murder. But yeah, I don't know. It's classy, sexy kind of. I don't know. I've seen enough. I've seen. I don't know if I go all the way back, but I've seen some Connery Bond. I remember seeing Roger Moore in the theater, maybe Man with the Golden Gun, I think was him.
Okay.
And
I'll buy it.
I've seen Daniel Craig. I think has he been Bond, Sam? I'm pretty sure he has, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I can't believe you skipped over my favorite, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, I think I've seen him too.
So what? Is there an opening? Is that what this is?
They have 15 guys on a list, and they have them all priced out. It's basically like looking at a conference title or a championship market. And the guy I'm looking at, his name is Theo James. He was in the show The Gentleman. He was in Divergent. He's 18-1 right now, and I think that's a good bet.
You got to get. I'm going to guess, is Idris Elba the favorite for this?
I'm so glad you said that. I'm old enough to remember when Idris Elba was the favorite to play Bond, but that was 5 years ago.
That's already
we haven't
gone.
had a Bond movie.
Yeah,
right.
I
mean, he's too old now. He's been aged out, I think. He's not even on the board.
Wow.
Well, what is this again? Then it's whoever was it last is not interested anymore, or he's retired?
I think he just sort of aged out. I think Idris Elba's got to be pushing. He's 53 now. So, yeah, he's too old to be Bond. Bond's in that 35 to 45 range for the most part.
Come on. Wasn't Daniel Craig close to 50 when he played Bond? He looked every bit of that age to me.
Maybe at the end. Daniel Craig right now is ... 57. The last one was about 5 years ago. So he was an older Bond for sure.
I wouldn't rule out Elba, but if he's not listed, there must be a reason for that, I would think.
He's not listed. You know who is listed though, and I would never bet? Tom Holland is 75-1. I would throw Tom Holland with one arm out the door. That's how little Tom Holland is. He cannot be Bond.
He cannot be Bond.
Well, he can do wonders making short people look taller on film. So.
Any women on this list?
No.
A woman has no chance of being James Bond? That's completely out? Okay.
Do you really want to have this conversation now, Mike?
What site are you on where you're just, right able to tell us how old these actors are?
Well, I'm a former producer researcher, so it just takes me
where to look.
6 seconds. Do you want to know somebody else? I'll get you their age in 6 seconds. Don't worry.
All right, I believe it.
I don't need to try you.
I'm not doubting
believe
you.
it as well. Yeah, no question. So what is this Bills bet you made last night? I wasn't really sure how to interpret the text you sent. I'm not sure if you sent the same thing to both of us or not. But it looked like it was on a napkin or the back of a receipt, and I couldn't,
love a napkin
couldn't
bet.
really make it out.
Yeah, so perfect because I'd rather explain it and have everybody weigh in. So my buddy's a Bears fan. He's in town from Chicago. And we got to talking about, like football as Chicago people do. And he was like, Caleb's going to win the MVP next year. And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, well, he should be the favorite. And I'm like, no, he shouldn't. And he said, yeah, he should. And then I said, well, luckily we can pull up the market. It's probably going to be Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. And he's like, those guys' time is done. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is how Chicagoan thinks. Like, the sea is parting for Caleb Williams. So we pull up the odds. Josh is favored, Lamar is second, and then Caleb is like 9th or 10th. He's about 15-1. And you can't exactly make a side bet on that. What are we going to bet? Is Caleb going to win the MVP or not? That's not a fair bet. So I said, well, we can do, if you want to bet Caleb, I'll bet Josh. We can do total touchdowns or more team wins. And he's like, oh, the Bears are definitely going to have more wins than the Bills. Done on the spot, handshake, $200.
I love a napkin bet. Those are the best. Your friend's name appears to be Bernard Getz, by the way, from the signature. I'm not sure. I didn't know you knew him, but that's what it looks like. And your little initial signature is very much like mine. That's how I do initials, where I write my first and last initials and then circle it. And that's your move too?
Yeah, well, I said initial it, and he goes, I don't initial, I got an autograph. So I'm like, all right, write your autograph down.
Right.
If it makes you feel better, go for it. But 2 weeks after I told you guys I'm not betting on the Bills, I already have $200 in the kitty. It's not even March yet.
I'm glad you said that, because I was about to ask you if you didn't just say last week that you were off, you were going to take a break from the Bills.
Well,
that's all. Break's over.
Lie.
Break's over.
We have really rubbed off on you in maybe the worst way possible. You just can't help yourself.
So we have Super Bowl odds, I think, but we don't have win totals yet, I bet, right? Or do we?
They usually don't do those. In the past, they've done it after the draft, and then the schedule comes out. So, I mean, you might see some numbers right after the NFL draft, but generally, like, the schedule comes out shortly after the draft. Usually, like, April to May, you'll get the win totals. And
okay.
Yeah, they asked me the other day, like, would you have any win totals you're eyeing? And I said, well, we don't have any yet, but the team that I would bet over on this year would be Tennessee. I'm a huge Robert Saleh fan, and they brought in Brian Dable to run the offense. I think coaching-wise, they're just in such a much better spot. And depending on how you feel about Cam Ward, you might be in or out. I'm kind of in the middle there, but they're going to have a win total of like 5.5 or 6, and I would bet that over right away.
Are they even maybe, like, if you really like it, they're going to be a long shot for that division, but that division has paid really well.
Yep.
In certain years recently, like when Houston won the first time, they were coming off, like the second overall pick or whatever that was. So I don't know. It depends on how you feel about the other teams. Sam, either your picks, let's just sort of rip through this, or who you think the favorites will be in each NFL division next year.
Well, I have the odds in front of me, so we can go down the line if you want.
All right, I'll just guess. How about that? Bills, Ravens, Jaguars,
Texans.
Wow. What's that then? What is that?
+1. It's like plus 160, plus 180. So right there.
All right.
L.A.
Chargers are co-favored with the Chiefs.
Philadelphia has to be favored.
Yep.
NFC North is really good. I want to say Detroit.
Yep.
Okay. Then Tampa
every year, plus 115.
Seattle.
Rams slightly over Seattle.
Okay.
The Rams are favored over Seattle. What does Seattle have to do?
Win the Super Bowl again, maybe? I don't know. It's funny. And you know what's crazy? You just nailed every division except for one, so kudos to you. To win the Super Bowl, if you pull up that market at whatever book, they're all about the same prices. When you see a team, like the first team on the list is plus 950, and then the 8th team is 14-1.
Yeah.
That's the book saying we don't know. Like, we have no idea. We're gonna put an aggregate price. We're gonna put 8 teams between 9 and 14, and you guys just pick who you want. Like, there is no clear-cut favorite for the first time in a long time.
I wonder if that Rams over Seattle is already the first sign. We talked a little bit about this, the day after or 2 days after the Super Bowl, Sam, that Darnold, like, I'm going to be guilty of still sort of expecting him to blow up, even though he never did this year. right? He got through those games. He was incredible in the NFC title game. They win the Super Bowl, I mean, on the backs of their defense largely, but still. And it's going to be a new season. Be like, yeah, I'm not sure I really trust him. Like, that is still going to stick to him, I think, with some fans, and I'm admitting I think I'm one of them.
He's also losing the brain trust of the offense. Kubiak's gone.
Right.
He's going to be the head coach of the Raiders, so that's something to account for. Defensively, we'll see. I mean, they do have a lot of cap room. That's the good thing. Like, they're not going to get, pillaged in free agency or whatever like the Eagles did. I mean, the Eagles lost, Josh Sweat. They lost Milton Williams. They lost one of their corners. Like, that just happens every year. When you win the Super Bowl, other teams want a part of that magic, and they want guys from that team. I don't think there's a lot of roster turnover per se. It will be interesting. I saw a story about, like, potentially Kenneth Walker not being back in town, which would be crazy to think, like, you win the MVP of the Super Bowl and then you're not there the next year. That'd be wild. But, there's a lot to like about that defense. And I don't think, of the 11 guys, they might bring back 9 of them. So that's where you start. And, that defense, I know everybody says the game, like, wasn't entertaining or it was boring or whatever. The defense just took the life out of New England. So if most of those guys are back, you have to put them near the top. And it's also, like, a lot of injuries happen in the regular season, Bulldog. I mean, even if you look at Seattle's schedule next year, it's like, oh, that could be a tough game. That could be a tough game. But what if Stafford's hurt? That's 2 wins. It's just, there's a lot of injuries that happen at the quarterback position. And a lot of teams that make runs in the regular season, you often go back and look at their schedule, and it's either, they played a backup quarterback or a team that fired the coach. Like, that happens a lot in the NFL.
How did you do on the game?
I did on props. I was 3-1. I lost my MVP on Shaheed, which they tried to get him involved early. He was never winning the MVP though, and I won like $82 on Charlie Puth holding Brave for 8 seconds.
Well,
$10 a second.
You'll always have that.
I told you guys. I was like, he is gonna take Brave to the house, and the number was 3.5. He held it for 8 seconds.
Yeah. And Ramparts got no action. To circle back on that, I don't know. Like, if it just happens, if we're in the same room or something and we're talking about how long the word brave is going to be sung for, then all right, sure, here's a 20. But I'm not calling anybody to make that bet. I mean, I felt like you were probably right. The anthem bets seem like everybody's always right. You find out on Friday how the rehearsal went and, just act accordingly. There, exactly. Exactly.
We talked on Friday at this time, and the over/under. Well, no, I found out about the word brave because I have a buddy who's a music exec. So whatever, insider trading. So be it. But the anthem hadn't been rehearsed yet, and when we were on the show a week ago, the number was 2:03, 2 minutes and 3 seconds. By the time we got to Saturday, the number was like 1 minute and 52. So the rehearsal clearly came out, and I think he finished 151. The brave thing was like a guy knew a guy who said Charlie's going to play really fast, and then he's gonna just explode at the end on the last word, and he did. So you could have looked smart at your party, Mike, if you would have dropped that on somebody.
I might have said it, or some facsimile of that, but no, I didn't actually win. But that's how I roll. Like I make a lot of predictions. The ones I bet on are often wrong. But I am betting Olympic curling. And we did talk about USA women's hockey, which is playing now. And they're up 1-0 after 1, having outshot Italy. I believe I saw 20-3. And they dominated Canada. We talked to Joe also last week about that team. Like, they just look like a juggernaut. So I don't know if it's too late now, but they're probably a huge favorite now, right?
I would think.
The women, yeah, they are. I was going to ask you guys, let's see, women future prices. They have them off the board. I guess there's games going on right now.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, Bulldog, you might be privy to this. Is USA 2-1 to win the gold on the men's side? Is that a good bet?
2-1.
Yeah, I think that's worth a flyer. I mean, I think it would be surprising to some extent if they didn't get a look at it with Canada or someone else. I mean, to me, like Finland doing what they did today to Sweden puts them back in the mix. Like I think it's going to be pretty competitive. So I'm not assuming Canada and the U.S. make it, but 2-1 I think is pretty decent on the U.S. right now.
They wouldn't, if Canada plays the U.S., they wouldn't be 2-1. Obviously, it'd be much smaller than that.
Right.
But I don't think Canada should be minus 110. I think it's less than 50% that they win, and that's really all it is. It's math. So Canada's minus 105 on the men's gold. USA 2-1. Sweden 8. Finland 14. We could probably stop there. I think I'm going to bet USA 2-1.
Good luck, Sam. Thanks for your time. What's new on the podcast?
We put up an old interview with Artie Lang, comedian
Yes.
from Howard Stern. Oh, we had to edit like half of it because it was so raunchy. But we did put it up on the Chicken Dinner YouTube and on the podcast feed.
I saw that and I forgot about it. I favorited it. How old is that?
That's 2016, and he tells a story about him and Norm Macdonald throwing $60,000 in the ocean. You got to listen to it.
Oh, my God. I saw Dirty Work in the theater. I never go to movies. I saw Dirty Work in the theater, let me just say.
Then you would appreciate the interview. They talk about going to Vegas for the Dirty Work tour, and they came back with no money. Artie
Yes.
and Norm were degenerate gamblers.
Norm Macdonald, Artie Lang, Jackie Mason, maybe Dirty Work? I haven't thought about that in a long time, but I'm here for it. Very good. Thank you, Sam. Enjoy your weekend.
You guys, too. Go watch James Bond, Mike.
Ugh. It's too late, isn't it?
Oh.
Aren't I getting enough mileage out of having never seen one at this point?
At this point, you probably should just see that through.
People are so interested in me when I tell them I've never seen a James Bond movie. Yeah. It's at least something you can say that maybe people will react to. And instead of like, oh, I really liked Octopussy or something like that. I mean, I don't know if I am better off reviewing. Well, I mean, there are more recent James Bond movies.
Sure.
But I don't know.
I would say I don't think I'm a fan, but I've liked every one of the movies I've seen. Like visually, they're pretty spectacular.
Okay. Well, that's never really interested me. I mean, the movie I'm thinking of that I would call visually spectacular, I'm already going to make it worse for myself, even though it is an all-time, it's a top 10 movie ever made probably. But Lawrence of Arabia, like that's visually,
okay.
that's my idea
All right.
of visually. Star Wars is not. Lawrence of Arabia is visually spectacular.
Yeah, I just think that the settings for the Bond films, it's Europe and it's the Mediterranean and it's hot. It's bikinis and it's cliffs and it's blue water and it's
all that.
It's beautiful.
Love all that.
Yeah.
Matt Verderam coming up at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Come here on Sunday night to open the season until they know that Mahomes, and it's not going to line up. They're not going to know in May when the schedule comes out mid-May whether or not the Chiefs are going to have Mahomes week 1.
They might have some idea.
I still think it's too risky.
Okay, then that's 11.
Yeah.
And what's left? Miami twice, Jets twice,
Right.
Minnesota.
Right. That's it.
That's it? We're at 12 then? Yeah, Chiefs are 12. That's right. Chiefs were 12. Well, okay. I wanted this to be better.
Don't we all?
I wanted this to be more interesting. But really, the idea that, the premise that, the Bills next year, there could be some changes as to who they face at quarterback is really more just the Jets and the Dolphins will have new quarterbacks and the Vikings, maybe. Right. And that's it.
Right.
That's the whole list.
The Vikings could still have J.J. McCarthy, and so that could be static. But yeah, the Dolphins and Jets are the only sort of ambiguity you've got about who their quarterbacks are going to be, I think, on next season Bills schedule.
Well, it's still 4 games, and it's still, of course, significant that the Dolphins might be moving on from Tua. I mean, that's been an era.
Holy cow. I think there's no question they're moving on. There was a clip of the GM doing I don't know if it's a fan fest or whatever, but he's up on a stage and there's a personality. I don't know if it was a reporter or just a host or whatever. So what's the plan with Tua? And I mean, he just said so many words. I mean, salad doesn't even do it justice. It was just
Salad bar.
Yeah, right, with soup.
It was a salad bar.
It's just going. He'll be the first to know when we know. We're very close to making a determination, but we're certainly not going to tell you before we tell him.
This is Jeff Hafley?
That's the coach. This is the new GM.
Okay.
And I can't remember his name. I don't have it.
It's three names.
Committed.
John
Right.
Eric Sullivan.
Thank you, Zach.
Jeff Hafley, that's not the Wimpy Kid book kid? Jeff Hafley? I don't think it is. Close, though.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right, so
Like, that's over.
you think that's over?
I would be, at this point, I'm going to say stunned if they don't move on from
Does he start somewhere else? I don't know how they get out of that. There might be a way to do it. There's always a way,
Sure.
depending on how much you want to pay.
Yeah, they're gonna have to eat. I mean, that's it. But ever since Denver did it, and that was $80 million.
Wilson?
Yeah, ever since that, it's like nothing's off the table. Again, and they contended right away. Like, they drafted Knicks and were in the playoffs. Like, right, that was the year they bought out Wilson 2 off seasons ago, and then drafted Knicks and went to the playoffs.
Wilson went to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
And then the Giants last year.
right.
So he's been on 4 teams in 5 years.
I guess that's right.
Is he done?
No.
So we talked to Sal a couple days ago about that little quarterback game we've played in the past. And I sucked him into joining us today with that in mind. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm sort of starting here with
I understand.
quarterbacks, because there are lots of them that might be worth talking about for some of these teams. What are Miami's options, for instance? A trade for like Mac Jones or somebody, a free agent. Malik Willis is one.
Yep.
A draft pick, I guess, but there doesn't really seem to be one that would go before the second round. And if maybe that's the thing they do, I don't know. Maybe it's like a possibility.
Yep.
Jets are kind of the same in this, almost across the board, the Jets. They just don't have Tua.
Yeah, they don't have a big whale to get rid of.
They have Fields.
Right, and that's a
Under
little.
contract.
That's a little bit of. That's like a
dolphin.
Yeah, good size,
if you will.
Oh, wow, there you go. Yeah, do they have to move on from him? I mean,
Fields?
Yeah.
Well,
They probably should if they want to be
they probably
any
will.
good.
Same coach.
Yeah.
It's already been a week of the Olympics. The opening ceremony was last Friday. Women's hockey, USA 1, Italy 0 after 1 period. The Swedes beat the Czechs. The Swedes lost on the men's side today. Lots of curling today. Bulldog, of course. Team USA women upset Canada. Rachel Homan, the Homan Empire, loses to Tabitha Peterson's team 9-8.
Was that for gold?
No,
That's
round robin.
Okay.
Curling, men and women are both in the round robin. Canada, the men just finished off Nicholas Edin and Sweden. And this is what am I when it comes to curling?
An authority?
I'm an obsessive fan and watcher. I've only rarely played, and I don't know the history like other people really would. So I'm not claiming to know the history. I've never seen a game, though, before today where the teams were like yelling at each other.
Ooh.
But that happened in Canada, Sweden.
Got a little nasty?
It did.
Wow.
The thirds were like arguing right to the end.
Huh.
Right to the end.
What was the foundation of the beef?
I don't really know, but the Swedish guy was mad at the Canadian guy and maybe something he was doing. And I've been working too. Like, I've only listened a little bit before I came in and then during a couple of breaks. But at one point I thought it was kind of funny. The Swedish guy was like sort of chiding Kennedy a little bit, like, oh, we'll just get blanks the rest of the game. I thought he was being funny. And maybe he wasn't being funny because it was clear at the end, like they were approaching each other. Kennedy was not pleased with this guy, and I don't know what that was. But if you like sports for that kind of thing, you want to watch the curling today.
Yeah, we got as close as maybe you've ever gotten to a dust-up.
I've never seen anybody do it. I've never seen
a line brawl at curling.
I've seen a team complain about another team's technique and maybe it being illegal, and maybe that's what this was too. But I've just never seen like guys get in each other's faces before.
I can't say I have either.
It's probably happened.
Yeah.
You know? One thing that I love about it is that you are hearing the teams talk about their strategy in front of the other teams. So, I mean, football is all, I got to put this giant cardboard box in front of my face so you don't see what the play is, even though you can't tell anyway.
Right.
Football's just totally paranoid. This sport, like, all right, what if we do this, they'll do that, right?
Yeah.
And like the other person's standing right behind them and listening to it.
Right. Yeah. Baseball's like that too now. The gloves over the mouth.
Oh,
like,
right.
Yeah, I don't want to mimic you there.
We
but
can't.
Yeah.
We can't ever have anybody know what we're actually thinking.
We definitely do not want you all to see the manager come out here and telling the pitcher to throw strikes.
Yeah, that would be sacrilegious if that happened. Matt Verderam next. We'll continue or get back to the NFL after the update here on WGR.
The Buffalo Bills announced 20 assistant coaches who will be joining Joe Brady's staff for his first season, and that is headlined by former NFL head coach John Fox, who's going to be coming in as a senior assistant coach. We'll get more on the Bills when Sal Capacio joins the show later today at 5. Over to the Olympics, it's been a very busy day for hockey. Currently going on right now, the U.S. women are up on Italy 1-0 in their quarterfinal matchup. That is at the end of the first. While on the men's side of things, we are still in the preliminary round. Canada is currently going up against Switzerland. Canada does lead that game 2-1. Also at the end of the first. But before all that, we did have a few other games as well. Slovakia took down Italy 3-2. Sweden fell to Finland 4-1. Rasmus Dahlin, though, does get on the score sheet with a power play goal. And Czechia handles France 6-3. The U.S. will next be in action tomorrow at 3 when they face Denmark. And your current medal count does see Norway and Italy sharing the lead with 18 total medals. The United States just behind them in second with 14. Norway, though, has the lone lead in gold medals won with 8. And in college hoops tonight, Niagara, they play host to Manhattan just after 6:30, and that game can be heard on our sister station, AM 1400. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Mike Schopp.
Hey, put a little. I never get this line out the first time. It's not even good. Hey, put a little bit more in there, cowboy.
And the Bulldog.
What's your degree in?
Kicking ass and taking names.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Well, obviously that line is not from a James Bond movie, or else I wouldn't know it, even though I couldn't even say it. It's from American Beauty, which you can't watch anymore because Kevin Spacey was in it, and we don't allow people to watch his movies anymore. Matt Verderam with us now on the West Her Hotline. Been a while, Matt. How was your season, your postseason? We'll talk about the Super Bowl here too. What's new with you?
It was good. It was good. Traveled for some of the games. Got back from San Francisco 3 days ago, and now I'm taking a week before going to the Combine. So it's been busy, but it's been fun.
What was the highlight of Super Bowl week for you?
The weather. The weather was great. I mean, I'm based outside Chicago. It's freezing out here. So getting there, 65 and sunny. Got to go out and get some exercise where it wasn't 10 degrees and running into a gym. So it was nice to get out there. The food was great. And, the game was the game was a snooze fest. If you're an offensive fan, if you're a defense fan, you were in heaven. But it was, listen, it was a fun week. San Francisco did a nice job of the game.
Yes, the game was just okay. I wonder what you would say about Seattle as a champion. It was New England that got ripped kind of for just not having a tougher road, the easy schedule during the season, and then what the playoff run was like for the Patriots. I mean, the Seahawks had a much tougher deal in the NFC West and in the playoffs, but they also had the bye week. And then in the Super Bowl, they just did not get much resistance there. So where do you end up on how to sort of where you file the Seahawks?
I think a lot of people would classify me as a hater with this, but I would just say, listen, I think Seattle is the best team this year. I think they're the right champion. I think they're a deserving champion. I also think a lot of us spent much of this year correctly saying it's a down year in the NFL. There are just not a lot of good football teams. I mean, you kind of one hand, I think, how many teams you looked at this year and truly felt like that's a good team. I mean, a lot of people thought going into the playoffs, well, maybe the Texans will get there. I mean, the Texans have a quarter of an offense, right? and people were sitting there like, maybe that team's the best team in football. So, look, Seattle, to their credit, they ran through the Niners. They survived the Rams, who I think were the other really good team in the league. And then they smoked New England. But I've seen people say, well, with analytics, that they were one of the best teams of all time. There's no way. I mean, I don't think. I think they were a very good team. I don't think they're an all-time great team as far as Super Bowl champions go.
Where do you think New England goes from here? Like, are you down on? Because it wasn't just the Super Bowl. I mean, the playoffs overall. Like I've said it this way: I don't know that a team has ever done less playing 3 games and getting to the Super Bowl than New England did on offense. I mean,
Right.
credit to their defense, but holy cow. I mean, Stroud just couldn't stop giving them the ball. The Chargers looked terrified the minute they stepped on the field. And then Denver's a blizzard and it's Jarrett Stidham. I mean, holy cow, talk about it falling right.
Yeah, no, and that's true. I mean, look, the Chargers, it's a time-honored tradition for the Chargers to get to the playoffs and just immediately forget how to play the sport. And then, the Texans, they showed up to New England with half a football team and play like it. And as you point out, Denver, yeah, listen, I mean, Denver was, I think, a decent team. But, look, we all had this conversation about Denver, too. Like, Denver was one of the weakest one seeds that anybody could remember. I mean, when that game opened on some books, not all, but in some books, the Bills were favored over them before the line switched over. I think if that line had held, if Denver had been the underdog, they would have been the second underdog in history as a one seed coming off of a bye week. So it was a weird year. It was a weird year. And I think a lot of people are going to make these assumptions now that, well, things are different. You don't need to have that great quarterback. You can win with a bunch of different ways, and I would tell people to hit the brakes on that. Look, that historically is not true. That is an outlier thing. We saw it with Nick Foles years ago. If you want to go way back, like the 91 Washington team that won by 17 points a game. Statistically, it's one of those dominant teams in the league. And I would point at that team and say, okay, that team that year was awesome. They also beat the Falcons in the playoffs with Chris Miller, and they beat the Lions with absolutely nobody on it outside of Barry Sanders, and won the Super Bowl. And you're just going to listen. Like they were great for 1 year. How'd that work out? Like did they end up sustaining that? It's very hard. I would suspect that a lot of teams next year that have the great quarterbacks will bounce back. They'll be where they're supposed to be. But this year was a weird year.
I'll take this opportunity since we have you, Matt, and you brought up that 91 Washington team to tell you that, and this isn't to contradict what you said at all, when I got to know Steve Tasker pretty well working in media, he said to me once that they were the losers in the Super Bowl to Washington, the Bills.
Right.
And he said that was the best team I've ever seen. And I had a tough time with that. For a long time, I had a tough time with that. Like,
Mark Rippon is the quarterback of the best team you've ever seen.
Yeah, but he was on the field. Like I always wanted to respect Steve's position on that, but then I came to just accept it because, like as you say, there are seasons where it's just. I mean, they had stars, that Washington team, and maybe the Seattle defense is also that. We just don't know. They're not household names yet. So I just thought you'd like that.
No, it's true. And I heard Steve say that he said that on the Four Falls of Buffalo. And it's funny because they interview other players for that same thing. They're like, yeah, that was the one team. We were sure we were going to beat them. And it's just, I think, to your point, though, and I think two things can be true at once. Like, that team wasn't sustainable, right? Because Mark Rippon wasn't going to sustain, 10 years of excellence. But for 1 year, they were just awesome. And I think that's the thing with the Seattle team. Listen, Darnold led the league in turnovers. He had a good year, and he was a great story, and it's a wonderful thing for him. And I think it's awesome they won, and that he gets that moment.
Yeah.
And it's just further proof what a tire fire the Jets are, right? But at the same point, I also just think it's one of those things where people are going to take that lesson and go into free agency and say, hey, you know what? We can win the Super Bowl with the 15th best quarterback. It's like, yeah, once in a decade. Once in a decade, you can do that. But if you look at that Washington team. Who won it after that? Aikman twice, and Favre, and Elway, and Warner. It's very hard to sustain that. But Seattle, to their credit, they were able to put it together, and they had a great run.
With Matt Verderam, SI.com, the Matt Verderam show on Patreon. I know that you've got a recent tweet about free agency and the draft, which is coming up, and hopefully we'll get to some of that before our time runs out. The point you're making, the overall point about this year being different, I think it starts with Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Philadelphia still was good and made a run, but the Chiefs' fall from grace was, obvious and pretty stark. How different were they from the year before? Their record is tremendously different, but they had all the close game luck in the first year and then none of it last year. And I wonder what you think going forward, because here, I don't know, yesterday this came up on our show. What are we doing with Kansas City right now? Are we Have they been replaced in the conversation by the Patriots or the Chargers or someone else? Or are they going to be the Chiefs again? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's an open question. Look, I've talked to a lot of people in that building over the last, 4 or 5 months, especially the last few. And I've had more than one person say to me, I actually think we were better in some ways this season than last season, but everything that went wrong, and the year prior to that, everything that went right it just went right. It worked out. But I think the overarching point in that building was we have really not been very good for the last 2 years. And we were able to get to a Super Bowl based on just guile and a little luck and playing big in big spots. But that's not a winning strategy for a long period of time. And I think their thought is, listen, I say this hesitantly because you don't know how this is all going to shake. They have reason, they have optimism that Mahomes will be back and he'll be able to play a full season next year. But I also think they would tell you privately, look, this is not going to be a one-year fix. I think they feel like they can contend next year as long as Mahomes is right because they feel like they got the 9th pick in the draft. They're going to clear a lot of cap space because they can restructure him and they have a bunch of really easy cuts for a lot of money. I would expect that they'll revamp the running back room. They'll add some edge help. But I think they feel like, look, yeah, 2026, could they get back to a Super Bowl and be them? Yeah. But it's probably going to be 2 years before they really have the full-fledged roster that they want. And so I guess I would say, do I think they'll be a contender next year and bounce back? I think they'll be a playoff team again next year, and I think they'll be a threat. I don't think they're just instantly going to go from 6-11 to just right back to being what they've been with, 14-3, and they're clearly the best team. I think they'll be in the mix. I would put it that way, but I don't think they're just going to be clearing away the team that you're going into January saying that's the best team in football.
I don't remember why it came up yesterday on our show, Matt, but we were talking about Travis Kelce for a few minutes, and how's the wind blowing on his future? Do you know?
I think more people than not think he's going to come back, which is funny because I don't know that was the case at the very end of the season. I will tell you this. He and Mahomes love Eric Bieniemy. Love him. And I think there's a reason that Eric Bieniemy's back in Kansas City. And it's not Kelce, but it's the last 3 years offensively, they have trended down each of the years. And I think there's a frustration inside the building because they're looking at it going, the offensive line is legitimately quite good. They have Rashee Rice, look, his off-field concerns aside, is a good football player. They drafted Xavier Worthy, who is not the perfect player, but is a good, useful football player. And yet, the offense is stuck in the mud. Now, part of that, I think, is on Andy Reid. He's got to figure out some updates to his scheme. But I think a lot of frustration came down on Matt Nagy and this idea that, look, they are not holding these players accountable. They make the same mistakes every single week. Nothing changes. And there's a reason that, Patrick Mahomes, about a week before they hired Bieniemy, had a press conference and said, we need accountability about 6 times in that press conference. And Eric Bieniemy is the definition of accountability. So I think that I think will help with bringing back Kelce. And I think it's going to kind of help them get back to where they were, provided they can fix up that running back room, stuff like that.
What do you see for Baltimore here? That's the other power, traditional power here that was obviously down. Coaching change, so it seems like they've obviously chosen Lamar, and I would expect them to figure that out contractually. But do you think they'll bounce right back with a new coach?
They're a little more interesting from this standpoint. With Kansas City, I look at it and say, if Mahomes gets healthy and he's right, they have a little better luck, and they fix a few rooms, they'll be right back in the mix, divisional round on. Baltimore, the hesitancy I have with the Ravens is just, look, that team is old in some spots. Henry is 32 years old. He's still awesome, but he's 32 years old. He's got a ton of mileage on him. And the thing that scares you with Lamar, 3 of the last 5 years, he has had lower body injuries that have taken him out of action for a long period of time. And if you go and look, he's 29 this year, so this doesn't apply to him yet, but the quarterback position, 30 and older, the most rushing yards a quarterback has ever had once they turn 30, Michael Vick, 676 yards. It's just the legs aren't what they once were. And so I wonder with them, Zay Flowers is terrific. They have no other weapon that scares you in the pass game, like zero. And so, they hired a defensive-minded coach. They're bringing in a very young assistant offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. Like, what do they look like? I think that team is better, but I think they have more questions to answer. Tyler Linderbaum's a free agent. He's a huge piece of that. Is Matabike going to come back from the neck injury? They have to figure some things out that I think are more overarching questions maybe than what's in Kansas City, which I think was more just a kind of a calamity of a year.
Josh Allen will be 30 in May. He and his 79 career rushing touchdowns, which is insane for a quarterback, the most ever for any quarterback. There's different kinds of frustration, Matt, for an NFL team in their season. What Kansas City had, at least it was kind of a quick death. By the time you got to Thanksgiving, it was pretty much over. Here, it's another what could have been season. Losing to Denver in overtime, having the ball in overtime, chance to win, couple of throws, a weird call, Allen's foot. I mean, we never get out of this, out from under this cloud where these little details that do the Bills in. Now a coaching change. What are they for you going into next year?
So for me going into 2026, I think as we sit, and look, we can talk again after free agency draft, whatever. But right now, I think if you lined everybody up and said, who do you think? I mean, the Bills right now, I would pick to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, I think they have the least questions, right? Like we just talked about Kansas City, we talked about Baltimore, and I look at the rest of that conference, and with all due respect to Denver, New England, like I would still, I know this sounds nuts, I would take Kansas City and Baltimore over New England and Denver like tonight, as long as Mahomes is healthy and Jackson can play 17 games. I just think this last year was a weird year. But with Buffalo, you're right. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in the league who's got more frustration right now. Baltimore, it was a weird year. It was a down year. And it ultimately ends up in Harbaugh being gone. Kansas City is a year where they stunk. But they can sit there with a fistful of rings and say, okay, fine, it was one bad year.
Right.
For the Bills, there is look, I was not surprised, like it seems somewhere nationally, at the emotion from that Denver game afterward, where it's just like, what do we have to do? Mm-hmm. What are we ever going to do? And I think, look, I don't blame them for firing McDermott. I will say this. The one thing that makes me a little uneasy about Buffalo right now, it feels like they walked out of that game and the lesson was, this is all Sean McDermott's fault. Hey, we're gonna promote Brandon Beane, and we're gonna promote Joe Brady. And Sean McDermott, he's the guy. It's his fault. Well, if they're right, okay then. But if they're not right, then what? Like that's the thing. Look, they're not going to be super active in free agency, but I would say they don't need to be. They need to have a good draft. They've got to figure out. They got to find some other weapon on the outside. And then defensively, one thing that's eluded the Bills for years, and I've always pointed this when they've lost the playoff games, who is the big pass rusher on the team? Who is the guy? In the 90s, you looked at them and, oh, my God, they have Bruce Smith. Okay, you don't need Bruce Smith, but can they find a guy who's good for 12 sacks? Like, who's that guy? Is that guy in this draft? Is he the one signing they make, like a big signing? I still think the Bills right now, you're sitting pretty in the AFC, but those are the things that if you're looking forward, what could trip them up, like those are the things I think they need to find.
You don't need Bruce Smith, but you might like Chris Jones. Somebody that's just, it really is like these, like you put it, how you put it, Matt. I mean, these few plays, that's a pass rush. I mean, Chris Jones against the Bills in the game here in the playoffs a couple of years ago, when they needed a play. And actually, even the next year, right? I mean, that was more that blitz that messed up the Bills' play, but just like also a pass catcher, somebody that you can really trust in those moments. Free agency is next, and then the draft. If maybe we just limit this to receivers because we're always obsessing over the receiver position here, right. Or just even more broadly, Matt, what kind of year is it going to be?
Well, this is a fun class, I think, for the draft because you look at the draft and there's not that group of quarterbacks. And I think, erroneously a lot of times we all sit here and look at the class and we base it off the quarterback. Oh, there's 5 first-round quarterbacks. Mendoza's going to probably go number 1. Beyond that, who knows? Maybe one other quarterback goes in the first round. This is a very good class for edge rushers. It is a very good class for defensive backs. It is an excellent receiver class. And if you're a Bills fan, you're pretty happy about all those things, right? Like those are things you need. And so if I'm the Bills, okay, you're not going to get Carnell Tate, but maybe could you get a Denzel Boston in the first round? Could a guy like a Jordan Tyson slip to them? I think he's an interesting guy because he's got a little bit of an injury history, but he's super talented. There are going to be guys there, second rounders as well. I think there might be 8 receivers or so that go in the first 50, 55 picks. So, if you're Buffalo, that's something that I'm looking at. Like, and I know there are people out there who go, well, you just took Keon Coleman. Who cares? Yeah. You got to get the right guy. Right. Like you can't just worry about, they made one mistake. Fine. So what? Everybody makes mistakes. You got to go out and find the guy. And I think if you're Buffalo, to your point, about making plays in a moment here, a moment there, I think that's what being a champion a lot of times is about. Allen, to his credit, over the years, yeah, sure, he's had moments you don't have back like the Denver game, but he's made a lot of huge plays in big games. And I look at, the teams that have won recently. You look at Philadelphia. Well, they've got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Saquon, all these defensive players that they've had. Kansas City, when they've had a 3rd and 8, it's no secret who they're going to. Everybody in the world knows who they're going to. It doesn't matter because he's great. It makes no difference. He's just going to get open. Buffalo, for a little while there had Diggs. I think they would be well served above all other needs to go out and say, hey, look, we need to find a guy who can close on defense and a guy who in the biggest spot, we're not, with all due respect to him, he played well down the stretch, but we're not going to Brandon Cooks in the biggest spot in the game.
Right.
Like, we have somebody who we know this guy's winning one-on-one, and Allen's going to put it on him, and good luck stopping him. Right? So if they could get a guy, like a Boston or somebody like that in the first round, I think that's a pretty good win for the Bills.
Makes sense to me. Matt, always good to talk to you. Looks like from your pin tweet, you're doing 5 or 6 shows a week? Yeah. So it's, busy just on the Patreon show, which is, NFL wide. And then, just doing all kinds of stuff for Sports Illustrated. So keep me busy, but it's been a blast. You've given us a lot of your time. Anything we can do for you, let us know. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Matt. Matt Verderam at Matt Verderam, Verderame. I always want to throw an extra consonant in there when I know he's going to be on and I'm setting up for the day, but I'm always wrong. It's just his name never changes. I want 2 R's. I want 2 M's. Yeah. It's not there. I have to stop forcing that. I had to check. I think did I text you that because Zach had told me late one day, and I don't think you were in the room, that we were having him, and I think I texted you, and I looked at Twitter to make sure I was spelling. I don't want to send his name misspelled to you. You don't want to spell it in vain. I wouldn't want to spell it wrong to anyone, but especially you. And I checked because I also think 2 M's. Only 1 M. Yep. Do you want A.J. Brown? 803-0550. Sal Capacio at 5. Happy Friday. Thanks for listening. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. In the NFL, there are just not a lot of good football teams. I mean, you kind of one hand, I think, how many teams you looked at this year and truly felt like that's a good team. I mean, a lot of people thought going into the playoffs, well, maybe the Texans will get there. I mean, the Texans have a quarter of an offense, right? and people were sitting there like, maybe that team's the best team in football. So, look, Seattle, to their credit, they ran through the Niners. They survived the Rams, who I think were the other really good team in the league. And then they smoked New England. But I've seen people say, well, with analytics, that they were one of the best teams of all time. There's no way. I mean, I don't think. I think they were a very good team. I don't think they're an all-time great team as far as Super Bowl champions go. Where do you think New England goes from here? Like, are you down on – because it wasn't just the Super Bowl. I mean, the playoffs overall, I've said it this way. I don't know that a team has ever done less playing 3 games and getting to the Super Bowl than New England did on offense. I mean, right. Credit to their defense, but holy cow. I mean, Stroud just couldn't stop giving them the ball. The Chargers looked terrified the minute they stepped on the field. And then Denver's a blizzard and it's Jarrett Stidham. I mean, holy cow, talk about it falling right. Yeah, no, and that's true. I mean, look, the Chargers, it's a time-honored tradition for the Chargers to get to the playoffs and just immediately forget how to play the sport. And then the Texans, they showed up to New England with half a football team and played like it. And as you point out, Denver, listen, I mean, Denver was, I think, a decent team. But, look,
we all had this conversation about Denver, too. Like, Denver was one of the weakest one seeds that anybody could remember. I mean, when that game opened on some books, not all, but in some books, the Bills were favored over them before the line switched over. You know, I think if that line had held, if Denver had been the underdog, they would have been the second underdog in history as a one seed coming off of a bye week. So it was a weird year. It was a weird year. And I think a lot of people are going to make these assumptions now that, well, you know, things are different. You don't need to have that great quarterback. You can win with a bunch of different ways. And I would tell people to hit the brakes on that. Look, that historically is not true. That is an outlier thing. We saw it with Nick Foles years ago. You know, if you want to go way back, like the 91 Washington team that won by 17 points a game. Statistically, it's one of those dominant teams in the league. And I would point at that team and say, okay, that team that year was awesome. They also beat the Falcons in the playoffs with Chris Miller, and they beat the Lions with absolutely nobody on it outside of Barry Sanders, and won the Super Bowl. And you just go listen, like they were great for 1 year. How'd that work out? Like, did they end up sustaining that? It's very hard. I would suspect that a lot of teams next year that have the great quarterbacks will bounce back. They'll be where they're supposed to be. But this year was a weird year.
I'll take this opportunity, since we have you, Matt, and you brought up that 91 Washington team, to tell you that, and this isn't to contradict what you said at all, when I got to know Steve Tasker pretty well working in media, he said to me once that they were the losers in the Super Bowl to Washington, the Bills.
Right.
And he said that was the best team I've ever seen. And I had a tough time with that. For a long time, I had a tough time with that. Like,
Mark Rippon is the quarterback of the best team you've ever seen.
Yeah, but he was on the field. Like I always wanted to respect Steve's position on that, but then I came to just accept it because, like, as you say, there are seasons where it's just. I mean, they had stars, that Washington team, and maybe the Seattle defense is also that. We just don't know. They're not household names yet. So I just thought you'd like that.
No, it's true. And I heard Steve say that he said that on the Four Falls of Buffalo. And It's funny because they interview other players for that same thing. They're like, yeah, that was the one team. We were sure we were going to beat them. And it's just, I think, to your point, though, and it is, I think two things can be true at once. Like, that team wasn't sustainable, right? Because Mark Rippon wasn't going to sustain, like, 10 years of excellence. But for 1 year, they were just awesome. And I think that's the thing with the Seattle team. Listen, Darnold led the league in turnovers. He had a good year, and he was a great story, and it's a wonderful thing for him. And I think it's awesome they won, and that he gets that moment.
Yeah.
And it's just further proof what a tire fire the Jets are, right? But like at the same point, I also just think it's one of those things where people are going to take that lesson and go with the free agency and say, hey, you know what? We can win the Super Bowl with the 15th best quarterback. It's like, yeah, once in a decade. Once in a decade, you can do that. But if you look at like that Washington team. Who won it after that? Aikman twice, and Favre, and Elway, and Warner. It's very hard to sustain that. But Seattle, to their credit, they were able to put it together, and they had a great run.
With Matt Verderam, SI.com, the Matt Verderam show on Patreon. I know that you've got a recent tweet about free agency and the draft, which is coming up, and hopefully we'll get to some of that before our time runs out. The point you're making, the overall point about this year being
Coaching announcements for the Buffalo Bills, as the Bills did make it official today. 20 assistant coaches are going to be joining Joe Brady's staff for the 2026 season, including headlined by former NFL head coach John Fox, who will be coming in as a senior assistant coach. We'll get more on the Bills. Sal Capacio joining the show in just about a half hour at 5 p.m. Over to the Olympics, it's a very busy day for hockey. Currently going on right now, the U.S. women have taken control of their game against Italy in the quarterfinals, currently leading that 5-0 in the second. While on the men's side of things, we're still in the preliminary round, but Canada leading Switzerland 3-1 also in the second. Staying with the men's bracket, we had a number of games going on earlier today. Slovakia took down Italy 3-2. Sweden fell to Finland 4-1, but Rasmus Dahlin gets on the score sheet with a power play goal. And Czechia handled France 6-3. The U.S. men, they are next in action tomorrow at 3 o'clock when they face Denmark. And to the current medal count, Norway and Italy in front with 18 each, while the United States is in second with 14. Norway, though, has the lone lead in gold medals with 8. And in college hoops, Niagara, they play host to Manhattan just after 6:30. That game can be heard over on AM 1400. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Baltimore, that team is old in some spots. And the thing that scares you with Lamar, 3 of the last 5 years, he has had lower body injuries that have taken him out of action for a long period of time. 29 this year. So this doesn't apply to him yet. But the quarterback position, 30 and older, the most rushing yards a quarterback has ever had once they turn 30, Michael Vick, 676 yards. The legs aren't what they once were.
I wrote that down when he said it, Matt Verderam. We're watching women's hockey here at the Olympics. Well, there at the Olympics, here in our studio. 5-0 USA over Italy. Shots are 34-4. This game is getting rough.
It's a little chippy, you know.
I wonder how many of the Italian players are Italian. There probably are some American college players on this team, Italy. I mean, they are throwing checks. I mean, some are dirty. It's really riveting, actually.
Yeah, there was a confrontation drifting out of the zone that looked like if you were watching an NHL game, you think like these two players are about to drop the gloves. They were like slashing each other and jawing at each other and getting right up, you know, almost, you know, cage to cage or fishbowl to fishbowl, whatever they're wearing. And I don't feel like, I mean, I feel like I've watched a decent amount of women's hockey over the last few years, and I feel like you rarely see that.
I totally agree. It's wild. This U.S. team is so good, and they're just dominating this game, but Italy is not having it. They are pushing back. They can't skate with them. 37-4 are the shots. Have you ever? This is one where if I were the goalie, we would win.
For Team USA, you mean?
Yes, I think so. I think if I were the goalie for Italy, we'd lose. Italy would lose. If I were the goalie for U.S., I think we'd win.
You might get by, yeah. Yeah, because even if the 4 shots they have gone in, you're still up by 1.
We're still up.
Yeah.
If I made no saves.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is really incredible how good it is. I have to say. Like, it wasn't – I wasn't first through the door on women's hockey. And I know people who are still just, like, not going to – they don't want to hear it. But it's so good. I mean, they are so fast, big – passing, the technical, it's all there. And, I mean, it's great to watch.
Yep. Totally agree.
It's come so far. They say with these things, I mean, this is going to sound trite, but when was Salt Lake? 96, 98?
Salt Lake was 2002.
2002, okay. And maybe this goes back, the women's tournament would go back before that. I would think.
I think so. Maybe just to 98, though. I don't know how far back it goes.
But they tell you always with sports that are just kind of on the – now we've got a brawl. I'm telling you. They're on sort of –
just scrum.
That's not a brawl?
That's not a brawl.
What makes it a brawl?
Punches.
If everybody is in on it.
I didn't see any punches. It's a big scrum.
There had to be some.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, you know, like everybody always says with this kind of thing, how long it takes to grow it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was lacrosse, I think. And what you've got now is really good TV sports.
For you, the U.S. and Canada, yes. I think the game overall is still lacking a third, fourth team. You know, like another team that can really go with these two. And you know, I think that is the part of it that at least globally and like to make this even more compelling. Like on one hand, it's really incredible to watch the U.S. be so dominant, but there's no drama, you know? There wasn't even really any drama when the U.S. and Canada played in their prelim game. It was pretty, you know, it wasn't as one-sided as this, obviously, but still, it was a comfortable win. And, you need just more competition that can level up. And we're not there yet. And I don't think that that's lagging behind because, it's challenging because even as Finland and Sweden and whatever other, all the other countries are growing and maybe, pouring more resources into their programs at the youth level, and there's just more and more women interested in playing and exploring that as an option athletically, the U.S. and Canada just sort of keep going too. So the next generation, and we're already seeing that I think a part of the story with why U.S. appears to, we'll see. I mean, they'll probably meet again here in the medal round. Appears to have even pulled away from Canada is the young players pouring in have just given them more options and better options. And to keep up, it's hard for Finland and Sweden and all those other countries to sort of get their footing because every time, right now, maybe it would be fair to say, I this is really out of thin air, but maybe if Finland now were playing the U.S. or Canada from 8 years ago, maybe it's even. But everybody is improving, and so the U.S. are getting better players, and so the gap is not really closing, even though incrementally those countries are getting stronger, but so are the powerhouse countries. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it harder to keep up and like I said, level up. But yeah, I mean, as a hockey fan, there's not much about watching the women's game that leaves me really wanting. And I thought when I first started really paying attention to women's hockey, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, being at Nichols and watching their girls program play, and then going to the state tournament right before COVID and watching like the high end 18U women play. They're and what I perceived as a lack of physicality in the men's game, from what I was watching, I thought we might be getting to eventually a spot where the games looked very, very similar. And I think in the span of a few years since I first thought that, the men's game overall in the NHL and even internationally has gotten the physicality has come back. And so that was a misguided thought on my part, but I meant it as a compliment to the women's game. Mm-hmm. It's comparable enough, I think, when you watch the best women play.
End of 2, 6-0 shots, at least 39-4, but that's almost all ancillary because now you've got the coaches screaming at each other. I mean, clearly the U.S. coach thinks that Italy is running his players. And, I mean, everything is now a scrum. The last goal was a pile-up at the net.
Right.
And there were penalties off of that. You can't fight. Like, if you
right.
fight in this, you probably get suspended even maybe.
Well, you're thrown out of the game automatically. I'm assuming that rule. That's how it is on the men's side.
No, that's right.
You can't. The men cannot. If you're thinking you're going to get a repeat of the Four Nations or something when U.S. and Canada or any of these teams play, you're out of the game and you're at risk of supplementary discipline on top of that. Like the next game maybe depends on when the altercation occurs. If it's early in the game, well, okay, you're out of the game.
Well, it's the semis next,
right?
So these guys are going to have to.
You're not going to see any.
Keep their cool.
Right. That's right.
Might be a challenge.
Yeah.
Italy, just what do they have to lose?
Right. And they're home, so, they're, well, at least, whatever.
39-4.
Yeah.
In shots.
That's tough.
2-2. Crazy. All right. Sal's coming up at 5. We'll talk to Sal about the Bills' hiring of John Fox today. That's a name from the past. We'll talk about that and more. A whole bunch of assistants were named to the team. And also play around with, like we did at 3 o'clock, some more quarterback team match ideas for 2026. Lines are open for you at 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. With Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, I mean, Philadelphia still was good and made a run, but the Chiefs' fall from grace was, how different were they from the year before? Their record is tremendously different, but they had all the close game luck in the first year and then none of it last year. And I wonder what you think going forward. Because here, I don't know, yesterday this came up on our show. Like, what are we doing with Kansas City right now? Have they been replaced in the conversation by the Patriots or the Chargers or someone else? Or are they going to be the Chiefs again? You know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's an open question. Look, I've talked to a lot of people in that building over the last, 4 or 5 months, especially the last few. And I've had more than one person say to me, I actually think we were better in some ways this season than last season, but everything that went wrong, and the year prior to that, everything that went right it just went right. It worked out. But I think the overarching point in that building was we have really not been very good for the last 2 years. And we were able to get to a Super Bowl based on just guile and a little luck and playing big in big spots. But that's not a winning strategy for a long period of time. And I think their thought is, listen, I say this hesitantly because you don't know how this is all going to shake. They have reason, they have optimism that Mahomes will be back and they'll be able to play a full season next year. But I also think they would tell you privately, look, this is not going to be a one-year fix. I think they feel like they can contend next year as long as Mahomes is right because they feel like they got the ninth pick in the draft. They're going to clear a lot of cap space because they can restructure him, and they have a bunch of really easy cuts for a lot of money. I would expect that they'll revamp the running back room. They'll add some edge help. But I think they feel like, look, yeah, 2026, could they get back to a Super Bowl and be them? Yeah. But it's probably going to be 2 years before they really have the full-fledged roster that they want. And so I guess I wod say, do I think they'll be a contender next year and bounce back? I think they'll be a playoff team again next year, and I think they'll be a threat. I don't think they're just instantly going to go from 6-11 to just right back to being what they've been with, 14-3. They're clearly the best team. I think they'll be in the mix. I would put it that way, but I don't think they're just going to be clearing away the team that you're going into January saying that's the best team in football.
I don't remember why it came up yesterday on our show, Matt, but we were talking about Travis Kelce for a few minutes, and how's the wind blowing on his future? Do you know?
I think more people than not think he's going to come back, which is funny because I don't know that was the case at the very end of the season. I will tell you this. He and Mahomes love Eric Bieniemy. Love him. And I think there's a reason that Eric Bieniemy's back in Kansas City. And it's not Kelce, but it's, the last 3 years offensively, they have trended down each of the years. And I think there's a frustration inside the building because they're looking at it going, the offensive line is legitimately quite good. They have Rashee Rice, look, his off-field concerns aside, is a good football player. They drafted Xavier Worthy, who is not the perfect player, but is a good, useful football player. And yet the offense is stuck in the mud. Now, part of that, I think, is on Andy Reid. He's got to figure out some updates to his scheme. But I think a lot of frustration came down on Matt Nagy and this idea that, look, they are not holding these players accountable. They make the same mistakes every single week. Nothing changes. And there's a reason that, Patrick Mahomes, about a week before they hired Bieniemy, had a press conference and said, we need accountability about 6 times in that press conference. And Eric Bieniemy is the definition of accountability. So I think, that I think will help with bringing back Kelce. And I think it's going to, kind of help them get back to where they were, provided they can, fix up that running back room, stuff like that.
What do you see for Baltimore here? That's the other power, traditional
Sal Capacio coming up at the top of the hour. Or as normal people would say it, 5. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here at 803-0550. Didn't give ourselves much time to sink our teeth into this, at least not now. But A.J. Brown is a popular trade target, I think, right now in the league. It was all this drama with Philadelphia last year and, but not even just last year with him.
Right.
I think it might be a decent bet to predict that he won't be on the Eagles next year. Do we want to play?
I think I want to hear the case. I want to present. I probably will at some point be prepared to present the case.
The case for,
yeah. Like I'm interested. I mean, I think he's been an excellent player. There has been stuff, but he's still the right age. He's 28. He turns 29 before the season, so he'll be 29 when the season begins. To me, that's young enough to still want to do it. It's not like warning signs flashing for his career or anything, like that he's about to fall off a cliff. So I think I'd be interested in that. And, he's a receiver that doesn't get the ball as often as he'd like on a team that seems kind of dysfunctional on offense. So, yeah, it's been noisy. But I don't assume that means he's going to be a problem here, At the end, Diggs ended up being enough of a problem that they wanted out of it. But it was nothing but smooth sailing those first 3 years or so. It was the end of year 3 where things got a little sideways, right? That Bengal, the playoff game and the gesturing and all the stuff. And it never really felt right after that, even though they still did all their handshakes and everything. And the Bills couldn't wait to show you on social media I love him. I love him. Okay. All right, great. But whatever. Some sort of fissure happened there and they moved on it. I think you could see the same scenario with Brown. You make it work for a few years, go chase a ring, go get a ring, and then, deal with the fallout if it comes. So he's not, to me, I would say without hearing too much about the inner workings of what has gone on there from a sideshow perspective, I'm very much, like my eyes and ears are very open to the A.J. Brown idea. It's not I don't want that guy, he's a headache. I'm not going to be that guy because guess what? Anybody who's as talented as him on a good team is not going to be available unless there's some problem. You're going to – Brandon Ayuk is an idea that the 49ers, they're taking back bonus money from him. That's over. That is an ugly divorce. And I don't know that I even would rule him out. Depends on what else is available. So I'm definitely listening on A.J. Brown.
Ayuk is a different conversation.
Yeah.
What happened? Okay. My instinct, as it often is in these kind of things, is to say no. Because, is that a second-round pick? Is that even enough? He's probably worth more than Diggs was when the Bills traded Diggs, and they got a future second for Diggs, right? Was that it? Was that one for just the one pick, or did they get another pick? There was more to that trade.
When the Bills traded him.
Yes, there was more to it.
I don't remember, but the second was the highlight of the trade.
I think he's worth more than Diggs was then.
I totally agree. He's 28. Diggs was, 31?
Maybe not yet. But he was older than this. Brown will be 29 in June.
Right.
7 seasons, 1,000 yards 6 times. The consistency is really there. Even last year with whatever wasn't working right, with the Eagles, still 1,000-yard season, 7 touchdowns. I just usually would rather kind of build it from within. But I guess I'd have to be open to this. The Diggs trade was when the Bills got Diggs, I felt this way. When they traded a first and more for Stephon Diggs, I wasn't aware to the extent that I would become that he was as good as he was. So, they had that on me. Ended up being a great trade even if you could have drafted Justin Jefferson. You don't know.
Right.
Like they traded for a known commodity, and they had tons of success. So I think that's a win, maybe a big win, making that move. But yeah, whenever something else comes down the road, I'm reluctant. I'm sort of like, I'd rather just have, I'd hope for a 21-year-old
someone young
version
and cheap
of A.J. Brown
instead of someone that costs almost $30 million. Yeah, sure, I get that. I do think
I'm not going to be mad if they do it.
Right, I wouldn't, and I've said this all along. I think all along. I mean, whatever. It's been a few weeks, but I think Bean is in a position where I think he'll look to do something really substantial at the position. I think the spectacle he made out of it last year plays some role in that. And, that could get you in trouble for sure. But in this case, I'm hoping it ends up being a net positive, that it pushes him to do a thing that, frankly, a lot of us have been waiting for them to do since they traded Diggs. I mean, the day that trade happened, you weren't here. Like, what else? What's next? Before I get mad about them trading away their number one wide receiver, tell me what they're going to do to replace him. And it turned out that they invented a slogan to replace him. And, they've still scored a ton of points and been a contender, both years. But I think it's hurt them not having a go-to guy.
I wasn't here when they made that trade. I was at Epcot. I was in I'm not sure what it was called. It was like a newer exhibit. It wasn't a ride. Like this area out, where Finding Nemo is at Epcot, over there by the end where everybody keeps their strollers parked. It was over there, and there was like this eco thing where you walked through it, and there were trees, and you got wet. There was like a mist.
Oh, sounds great.
We were learning about the Earth and weather systems or something. And in the middle of that, I looked at my phone because it had that notification right there, like something had happened. And it was one of those where I had to keep looking at it to believe it. Like, this is not just somebody, this is not my friends texting.
Right, it's real.
This is like actually, this is not a fake account. This is a real thing. They actually did that. And when something like that happens, we have to get to a break here, but I just remember standing there getting wet under this mist, whatever, structure at Epcot, like just sort of numb. They really just did this. I don't want to walk through the exhibit anymore. I need to sit down and think about this and talk to somebody, not learn how chlorophyll works. That can wait. Chlorophyll can wait. Damn it.
You know where the Nemo ride is, and everybody parks their strollers.
Right? The land is over there.
You can tell me that's in Huntsville, Alabama, for as well as I know Epcot. I have no idea where I've never been.
You go up the hill to Soarin', you go this way for Nemo.
I probably will never go either, unless like Owen or Leo have kids that want to go to Disney, or they want to take their kids to Disney. But I don't think so. It's not our thing.
Well, we'll see if that changes. Sal Capacio after sports. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
The Buffalo Bills announced 20 assistant coaches who will be joining the Bills staff for the 2026 season, and that is headlined by former NFL head coach John Fox, who will be coming in as the senior assistant coach. We'll get more on the Bills when Sal Capacio joins the show next, so do stay tuned for that. To the Olympics, it's a very busy day in hockey. U.S. women have taken control of their game against Italy in the quarterfinals. We are early into the third period, and U.S. leads 6-0. While on the men's side of things, we are still in the preliminary round in Canada. They lead Switzerland 3-1. That game is just going to get underway in the third period. Earlier today, Slovakia, they took down Italy 3-2. Sweden falls to Finland 4-1. Rasmus Dahlin, though, gets on the score sheet. A power play goal for him. And Czechia handled France 6-3. The U.S. men, they are next in action tomorrow at 3 when they face Denmark. To figure skating, quad god Ilya Malinin not going to medal in the free skate. He is going to finish in 8th. And with that, your current medal count does see Norway and Italy in front with 18, while the United States is in second with 14. Norway, though, does have the lone lead in gold medals won with 8. And in college hoops tonight, Niagara plays host to Manhattan just after 6:30, and that game can be heard over on AM 1400. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Oh, I was making a point not to talk over the song, and then it started right back up. Here I thought I was being respectful and smart, but guess what? That's not the case.
Yeah. When it hit that last note of the first time through, I don't think the YouTube stream had started back up yet, but it missed me doing this. I'm going to do it now for the YouTube stream.
Why?
I don't know. I just the emphasis on the note. It just struck me to do that. Like, dun, 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 dun. I don't know. I was dancing, I guess. Being pretty liberal with the word dancing there.
Yes, I think you are.
Yeah.
Sal Capacio with us on the West Her Hotline. What a start. Sal, thanks for being with us. We're going to talk quarterbacks here eventually. Have some fun trying to match teams and potentially available quarterbacks. But first, let's hear you on this coaching list. John Fox. I mean, I don't know. That's a name I hadn't heard in a while.
Kind of comes out of the blue for me as well. John Fox, the former head coach of the Carolina Panthers, Denver Broncos, Chicago Bears, 71 years old. He's been a head coach, like I said, at 3 different organizations. Been a coach a long time in the NFL, and now he's joining the Buffalo Bills staff as a senior assistant coach. That doesn't mean it's not even an assistant head coach, it's senior assistant coach. Whatever his role is, this is clearly a move for Joe Brady to have someone on staff who has head coaching experience. No different than what Sean McDermott did when he hired Leslie Frazier as his assistant head coach. Which, by the way, he is still that role and title with Mike McDonald in Seattle and just got a Super Bowl ring. I think it's very smart of any young first-time head coach to hire as many people as he can who've kind of been there, done that, whether coordinators or head coaches. You should have somebody on your staff that has head coaching experience. And I know the game changes. That's totally a valid point. But there are always things that come up that a head coach has not been through when he's been the first time and can lean on those people who've been through those situations and what they've done. And also, you know, if something's going on and it takes your attention away from the head coach stuff, to have somebody on staff that has that former experience, there's no downside to me. I do think it's an interesting name, though, John Fox, and one that we had not anticipated.
Yeah, I'm inclined to just nod along here as you're talking, because when we were going through all the reported hires, which I guess were all made definitively official today with the whole list being sent out, I believe by the Bills, right?
Yep.
Yes. So Carmichael had experience. The offensive line coach is experienced, but none of them were head coaches. And so there was that one little piece missing. And, of course, John Fox fills that in capably. I was looking through his career, Sal, and I don't think there's a crossover. Maybe you've done this too, anywhere with Brady, but he intersects with Brandon Beane, and I guess Sean McDermott to an extent, not that it matters now because McDermott's not here, but Beane very early is still there in a support role in the front office when Fox is their head coach until I think 2010.
Yeah, so there's some crossover there. You're right, and that's the thing that I looked at too. Like, wait a minute, what's the connection here, right? And you look at John Fox. You guys, I just said he's 71. He started his coaching career in 1978 with at San Diego State. By the way, he's listed on his Wikipedia page. He played on the practice squad, I guess, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of 1978, and then didn't go well at the NFL level for him as a player. So he went into coaching, and that same year he went to San Diego State, and he's been coaching a long, long time. He's been in college, he's been in the NFL. And
he coached in the USFL.
He did. You're right. Let's see, the LA Express, right? That was Steve Young. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Steve Young right there. And he hasn't been in coaching at all for 3 years though. His last role was with the Lions in 2023, also as a senior defensive assistant. So that's what he'll be here. And you're right, Bulldog. You go back to the Denver Broncos. I'm sorry, you go back to the Carolina Panthers. I'm sorry, and there's a little bit of crossover there, and there's some familiarity. So it makes sense. And as these things go, sometimes it's 1 degree of separation. Sometimes, right? Maybe Joe Brady. People in Carolina that knew him, and different places, Denver Broncos, obviously, different places that people could know people. So yeah, it makes sense to bring in a guy like that, and maybe a guy that a couple people are familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, you never know how it could be a situation where a guy like Fox knows Beane, knows that there's turnover here, and calls him and say, hey, you know what? Tell your guy to give me a call. Like maybe we can put something together here, and it just sort of, despite Brady not having worked with him before, it just sort of they get sort of connected, and here we are.
I always want to. I'm sorry. I was just going to say I always want to know with these senior assistants how much they're going to actually do. Is this one where wasn't Pete Carroll this for the Seahawks after they moved him up from the sideline? Like, is he in the meetings? Is he there once a month? Is he really integral in building any sort of structure as to what they're doing? I mean, maybe more of his duties will be like setting up for the season or something. I don't know. You're not. Please don't tell me anyone ever that they're going to consult John Fox on game strategy. Like, this has got to be more. Hopefully not. I mean, if they're planning on doing that, never publicize it. And Bills, come on, never admit it if you're doing that.
Well, you know the way this works, guys. The Bills put out the release. They have the names, and then that's a lot of the default setting a lot of people go to. Oh, my God, he was terrible as a head coach, which he wasn't, by the way. He actually had some success, and he had some terrible times, and I know the overall record wasn't great. Oh, my God, he was terrible as a head coach. I can't believe what's he doing, is setting the defense. No. These things are generally more administrative roles are what they are.
Yeah.
And it's not game planning. It might be, though, something like, hey, do you remember back in that year when you guys would run this? Can you tell us a little more about that? And you could do things like that. You lean on people. Generally, these senior assistant coaches are more administrative and can take care of the things the head coach can't take care of maybe in certain times throughout the year and throughout the week and on a day-to-day basis.
Any other especially interesting names on the new coaches list for you?
Yeah, I think the fact that the Bills actually did retain 2 defensive assistants is interesting to me because there was, a thought that they could just overhaul the entire defensive side. That is not the case. It's not what they did. Although most of it has been overhauled, they did retain Joe Dana. He's a secondary coach. He moves from safeties to secondary. So whatever that means, there's a corners coach, there's a secondary coach, but for all intents and purposes, he'll probably be doing most of what he's done in the same role. And that's Cole Bishop, obviously, and what he's been able to do with him, which is good. And then the other one is really interesting because he's a local guy, and that's Jason Rebrovich. Jason was with the Bills back with Rex Ryan as a defensive line coach, and then he left. He had a couple stops. He was with the Packers. He came back last year under Sean McDermott and was the pass rush. He was an assistant defensive line coach. He was pass rush specialist in Green Bay. But I say that because, again, it felt like everything was going to get overhauled on defense. That's not the case. Jason comes back, and what's funny about him is
He's listed as senior defensive assistant. Guys, I'm older than Jason Rebrovich. He's listed as senior defensive assistant.
Get used to it, buddy.
Right, which makes me feel really, really old, right? So that's kind of funny. So, yeah, I think those are interesting. And the other fact that's interesting here is there is no nickel corner coach specifically anymore. That had been created a few years ago. That was Mike Pellegrino last year, and now he's going to apparently be with the Eagles, but that's because the Bills just completely eliminated that position. There is no specific nickel corner coach, which now gets speculation running rampant from the fan base of what does that mean for Taron Johnson? What does that mean? I don't know, right? I don't know how they view that spot under Jim Leonhard.
Yeah, that'll be really something to watch. I also saw, and this might be, this could be maybe more good than bad, but I'm trying to think, was it Mike Clay? I saw a post that featured percentage of snaps that are going to be lost to free agency, UFAs only. And the Bills, like returning starters, they've got 51% of their starting snaps coming back on defense, which the reason I say it could be good is like you got a new coordinator, which means a new system, right? And I think we know that, right? It's going to be different. How different, we don't know, right? 3-4, whatever, this nickel spot you're talking about. I think it is convenient that the Bills have the opportunity to sort of fill in and don't have to maybe make as many decisions to move guys out financial or play style wise, because there's a lot of holes to fill as it is.
100%, yeah. And I think that to me, this is uncharted territory to talk about this team in a way that I have not had to talk about them in a while and think about them, which is, quite frankly, we don't know what their plan is on defense, right? Which is, we could sit here and say, well, this guy fits, this guy doesn't. This guy fits, this guy doesn't. I don't know. Is that real? Who knows who fits and who doesn't? Mm-hmm. Because we haven't seen it in practice yet, right? Like they can start off-season workouts April 6th. They're not going to go on the field yet. That's going to be in OTAs and minicamp. We're gonna just have to put together the clues and the breadcrumbs, guys, over the next couple months about what this defense looks like based on their personnel moves, right? This is not, for 9 years, it was, you knew the scheme, let's go find the guys that we can talk about who do fit and don't fit and where they are contractually, right? Now it's kind of the reverse order here. We're going to figure that out as the Bills are telling us by their moves, by their actions,
right,
to figure out what they are going to do on defense, because we don't know right now. I could tell you, Ed Oliver's a great example. Taron Johnson's a great example. There are people telling you how much Taron Johnson fits or doesn't fit. Ed Oliver might be a better example. Yes, he definitely can fit in this new defense. No, he doesn't fit in this new defense. I am personally not about to make those judgments because I have no freaking clue what Jim Leonhard thinks about that. And that's uncharted but cool territory for us, actually, to be honest with you, in a lot of ways.
Yes. Sal Capacio on the Wester Hotline. Well, we won't play our game in full here. Not that, again, this year I'm really quite sure how it works anyway. But let's start in the AFC East, Sal, and just talk this out on a couple of examples. Okay. Miami, with Tua under contract. I mean, it's a new coach there, too. Is it a certainty to you that they're going to want to move on from him?
Yeah, it's a certainty to me they want to move on from him. I don't know if they will move on or be able to move on. I think they do, though. I think they ultimately find their way to moving on from him, yes.
So what would you like as an idea for them? I mean, there's only one – I mean, who knows, right, on this either. There's one rookie coming into this draft that everybody agrees about, and he's not going past pick 1. In Mendoza. Then you've got maybe the second round starts before another quarterback goes. So you're either, if you're anybody but the Raiders, you're either, really crossing your fingers that you can get a prospect. I mean, they're going to get drafted and they'll be developed, but week 1 starter, I doubt it.
Yep.
Maybe
there's a Tyler Shuck out there that we don't know, that some team is going to like, and they know they can get value getting him later because he's not a hot prospect, and maybe by midseason he's your guy.
Right. Even he didn't start week 1, and they didn't have anybody established over him.
Right.
Is there an idea for Miami or a type for Miami that you like?
I'm going to go back to like some of the smoke that's been out there. It feels like Malik Willis could be very much in their window. That's a guy would be coming from Green Bay, right?
Right.
Yep. Green Bay. And
free agent.
who did they just And who they just hire?
Green Bay's coordinator.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like that's a guy that fits for them. Defensive guy though, or the defensive side of the ball. But guys are familiar with him. That's the whole point. Like, you're probably gonna have guys on staff that are familiar with. So it feels to me like Malik Willis might be the kind of name here that a lot of people are looking at as for a lot of different. Because what are the other free agent quarterbacks in this year's class? Excuse me. Daniel Jones, right? I mean, I don't know, wherever his injury stands, but this is not a year where there's, definitely slam dunk, free agent quarterbacks that everybody's going to be after. And I think Malik Willis is pretty much the top of the list, to be quite honest.
I think you're right. The thing that would make me wonder about the fit with him in Miami is just whatever they end up doing to get their way clear of Tua, there's going to be some big money left over. And Willis is probably going to cash a pretty big contract. Yeah. In part because of how he flashed, but maybe more so because of the point you just made. The dearth of guys that are just available for nothing, right? Not in a trade. And so I wonder, I could see Miami getting outbid for him by maybe somebody else that is ready to pay him and can pay him more, doesn't have the anchor of dead money from the guy they're trying to offload.
100%. I mean, financials are going to matter here, right? There's no doubt about that. So if his price gets really high, then they could say, hey, we're out. We just can't do that. But I just think the fit makes sense. I mean, you get a guy here that the coach is familiar with, and, you kind of start the process of moving on and rebuilding. It feels to me, I have a buddy who's a big Dolphins fan, and we were talking the other night, actually, and he said, for the first time in my life, I think they're actually doing it right, and they're going to do a total rebuild. And, I mean, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but that was his even general sentiment as a fan watching the team from the outside.
Free agency, as you alluded to, is very thin. I think Jones probably goes back to Indianapolis and may not even be ready to start the season off a torn Achilles. There's Aaron Rodgers, who's going to do whatever he wants, I guess. Flacco.
It feels like that's going to be back in Pittsburgh again because of Mike McCarthy.
Okay, maybe. Flacco says he wants to play, apparently. Then you're into Tyrod Taylor territory. Russell Wilson. I mean, it's not hot.
Right.
What about the Jets? Sal, again, in the division, Justin Fields is there. They kept Aaron Glenn. Can't believe they would go back to Justin Fields, especially to start the season, but he is on the roster. What should they do?
I don't feel like the Jets are in the mood to have another rookie quarterback, to be honest with you. I mean, even a younger quarterback like Justin Fields wasn't a rookie, but it feels to me like Aaron Glenn is of this mindset and mood, and I'm not criticizing at all by saying this, which is just give me somebody who's got some skin on the wall that I can go out there and play, and I don't have to worry about all the variance at the quarterback position every single week and, what the heck am I going to get, right? A guy that's learning on the fly. So I wonder if Kirk Cousins fits here, to be honest with you. I think that's a guy that I could see. I think Russell Wilson could be a guy there. You just mentioned him, his name. He was in New York. It was just, hey, go down the hall and go to the other locker room. You know what I mean? I mean, whatever. But I think that a guy like that feels to me like they want to, and Aaron Glenn is going to want to stabilize that position and not go back to another really young guy.
By the way, I don't think I've ever thought about this before. Are there 3 full-size NFL locker rooms in that stadium, or are there 4? Whoever the Jets or Giants are playing, is there one visitors locker room there that that visiting teams use no matter who the opponent is?
If I remember the last time the Bills played the Giants, I think it was the same locker room as the week before against the Jets. And the reason I say that is I think the Bills left all their stuff in there they needed, because remember it was back-to-back.
Okay, right.
And I think if I'm right that yes, it was one visitor's locker room for both teams.
Okay, that seems like that's all you need. You don't have double headers, so you probably only need the one.
Right. No, but I think at SoFi you have multiple locker rooms, more than that, because you have the Rams and Chargers, and then there was this locker room we went in that was used for halftime performers, and people it was totally different. And I'm not saying that stadiums don't have those things, but it was a full locker room, and they had multiple. I think they had 5, 6 locker rooms for all different things.
Funniest thing ever could be if the Jets went for Zach Wilson. He's on this free agent list. Bring back Zach. Yeah. Some are saying bring back Zach.
My favorite idea for the Jets is to trade for Kyler Murray, because I can't stand Kyler Murray. I wouldn't want him anywhere near my football team, so I think, of course, the Jets will do that.
All right.
I could see it. I think Kyler Murray could be in play for the Dolphins. I think Tua's in play for the Cardinals, though. Like, to me, it's more likely that Tua would go to Arizona than Murray would go to Miami. But I could see, and you guys said earlier, I heard when you say just swap them, right? I mean, yeah, sure, why not? Just go do it. Let's see what happens.
There should be, again, if sports were cool like they used to be, the commissioner in a sport would be like, you know what? I'm just going to waive the
dead money on both of these.
I'm
and you guys can just exchange quarterbacks.
This is in everyone's best interest. It's interesting. Everybody's happy. Just trade. Don't worry about it. Trade contract. Trade all of it. I'm not going to penalize anybody for that. One more before you go, Sal. The Browns, Shedeur Sanders, you got to look at him when the Bills were there. Deshaun Watson might be not dead as an idea. I just say might be. And then, of course, there could be anybody else. What should they want to do?
Do I want to start tying people together and bring up Tyler Huntley's name?
Baltimore.
I mean,
right.
Todd Monken, right?
Yep.
I mean, I could see that. I could see him saying, hey, this guy gave me a couple of brief moments here. I mean, they go back. He was there last year. He's familiar with him, so maybe that's a guy that they investigate. I do think Shedeur Sanders will probably get a little bit more of a look than he did last year. By the time we get to the season, we'll see what that looks like maybe. But I think in the offseason, it feels like that might be something they're a little bit more into than they would have last year after the draft. But I don't know, man. They have so many. And Deshaun Watson, you're right. I mean, that's still very real possibility for them. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Huntley's name pop up here.
As we get rolling with the offseason here, one name, last thing that we talked about a little bit earlier, and other people have been bringing up is A.J. Brown. I think he's sort of like a league story, whether he'll be back in Philadelphia. Would you support the Bills paying whatever the price needs to be for A.J. Brown?
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, at this point, he's not 30 yet. He's not like a super old guy. There just seems to be a lot there that you have to deal with, and I'm not sure. There are other options I think are better for the Bills from that standpoint. The vibes, it just feels like there's just so much. It's so weighty to have him, and then what the price is to bring him in, and if it starts to go south, that it's just kind of like that's a rut that you're in. So I don't know. It just doesn't feel like that's something. He's a super talented guy. We know that, right? But there's just a lot there. I would say this, though. I definitely would be more of the mindset of bringing in an established player for draft picks than I would for drafting somebody for the Bills, because I just think that you've done that. And it's such an unknown, right? It's time to get somebody like a Stephon Diggs trade, like they did a few years ago. And that's more like that. We didn't talk about Trubisky, by the way, in the Bills and their backup. And I do think he could be in the mix for one of these teams somewhere along the way, which is – hey, maybe that is a team like the Jets. Okay, like I just said, I could see them in for Cousins, but maybe the Jets make that call and go like, hey, you've played, you've started, you've been in the playoffs, like we just need to stabilize this position. The division. I also would not be stunned at all if Mitch Trubisky's back in Buffalo as their backup quarterback.
All right, here's to the weekend. Thanks for your time today, Sal.
All right, guys. You too. Thanks a lot.
That's our man, Sal Capacio, on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Sal is a part of my February Fix Fantasy League that drafts the day before the Super Bowl, the night before the game. So we drafted last Saturday night. And this is I'll just try to put it in terms of jargon because I know that's what you like. Super Flex League.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So you have two quarterbacks, and Sal had the second, and his partner, he and his partner had the second overall pick. And the first pick was Bijan Robinson. And Sal took Gibbs, not Josh Allen.
All right.
I didn't talk to him about that because I kind of maybe was assuming they would take Josh Allen, who went, I think, fourth in that draft. What would you have done?
Oh, I'm a homer. I would have taken Allen.
You would have taken Josh Allen and not – you would have not shown up.
Yeah. Well, I would have had my face painted, and I would have taken Josh.
You would have had a proxy do it.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to go to the draft.
Yeah. Don't worry about use all the jargon you want. I'm a ball knower.
You're a fantasy ball knower?
This hockey game has calmed down.
It has.
I think both teams probably, but the coaches, maybe just like, you know what, we're embarrassing ourselves. Let's just like reel it in a little bit.
It can be that. It can also be just sort of like you run out of energy for it at a certain point, maybe. I don't know, but you're right. It's late in the third now, and
there's been no confrontations or anything like there was in the second period.
Yep. 6-0 USA over Italy in the women's late in the third. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after sports. This is WGR.
Busy day of hockey over in the Olympics. Just wrapping up now, U.S. women domination continues as they take down Italy in the quarterfinals 6-0. On the men's side, also going on right now with just a few minutes left, Canada leading Switzerland 5-1. Again, that is late here in the third. Some other early action from today on the hockey side of things. Slovakia took down Italy 3-2. Sweden fell to Finland 4-1, but Rasmus Dahlin does get on the score sheet with a power play goal. And Czechia, they handle France 6-3. The U.S. men are next in action tomorrow at 3 when they face Denmark. And your current medal count does see Norway and Italy in front with 18, while the United States is in second with 14. Norway, though, has the lone lead in golds with 8. To the Bills, they did announce 20 assistant coaches today who are going to be joining the staff for the 2026 season. That includes former NFL head coach John Fox, who will be coming in as a senior assistant coach. And then in college hoops, Niagara play host to Manhattan just after 6:30, and that game can be heard over on AM 1400. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Minnesota Vikings. I think it's obvious they're going to do something at quarterback this offseason in the veteran ranks, right? Whether that means a veteran who you bring in to play if things don't go well for J.J. McCarthy, or a guy to come in and challenge J.J. right away. But Kevin O'Connell, something of a quarterback connoisseur, a team that obviously is unsatisfied with what happened last year, right? They went into last year thinking they would compete for a Super Bowl. Yeah. They did not, obviously. They came up quite short. Yeah. But Kyler would give them some energy and some competition in a room and maybe bring out the best in J.J. McCarthy.
Bulldog, did you do – that's Field Yates, by the way. Did you do a things I got wrong article or anything? List of predictions?
You mean about the Olympics or the
NFL season?
The
I was
NFL
thinking
season,
of.
yeah. No, I did not. I did not do that.
You're still working on it. You're still,
Well, when
you
you get as much wrong as I regularly do, it takes a while.
Minnesota was a big miss for me, and I know I had company in it. In fact, this isn't really an excuse, but I usually will take my lead from certain other voices, and Minnesota was described as having this great roster, and I had gotten to the point where I didn't feel like I needed to question who their quarterback was. This is more for fantasy, because no matter who their quarterback was, they went off.
It always works, yeah.
I mean, they didn't always win, but there was always stuff. That was Joshua Dobbs. That was Nick Mullins, I think. Like, even Cousins, who's, flawed, but you still got big numbers. And then Darnold. I mean, who was Sam Darnold when he went to Minnesota? And they won 14 games, and Jefferson was fine, and, he had a great season. So I assumed Minnesota would be good.
Yeah.
And they were not good.
I don't know that I thought how good I thought they'd be. Betting them to win the division in an 8-leg parlay is not exactly the same as thinking they're going to be really great. Like, the number was so enticing. Like, I'm always looking for one or two out of the 8 that are sort of, I'm not off the board, so to speak, but like, just give me some juice. And they were some juice there because of Detroit and Green Bay. I don't remember what the price was, but it was enticing enough for me to go, I'm going to put that in there. Maybe I'll be right. And obviously I wasn't right.
They probably were closer to being a favorite than the Bears were, and the Bears won it.
Yeah. I think they were the third. I think they were behind Green Bay and Detroit.
Me too.
But ahead of Chicago. I think that's correct. But I didn't want to trust Chicago yet.
I know, right? That's how they get you. I mean, the Bears ended up being the right pick, but Minnesota just got a lot more credit.
Yeah,
and they were better established. They were a great team the year before. But McCarthy, is this too much? He was so bad that the season was not tenable. And then there was Carson Wentz. I mean, they were playing games with whether McCarthy was hurt badly enough. Suddenly he had this injury that nobody saw, and Wentz was starting for them because they just felt like he had to. And the season, they didn't have the worst record, but they were never in it.
Yeah.
Minnesota being good was a miss. Seattle, really, from a fantasy standpoint, this is the one I regret the most. But I understand why I felt this way, was that they would not be able to hold up front.
Mm-hmm.
People agreed their line was going to be bad. It had been bad. And instead it was good or good enough. The rookie, Zabel, was excellent. And that was transformed, which gave Darnold enough to work with.
And even with that, they overcame him leading the league in turnovers. Still.
Well,
so that was still there.
The Seattle point for fantasy is really more just JSN, not Darnold. I mean, Darnold was QB 25. If you had Sam Darnold in a normal fantasy league, you didn't want to play him. And, his team was the 1 seed.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't enough there. But Smith and Jigba was the offensive player of the year in the NFL. And he was late third in drafts. Because I just didn't think there was enough foundation there to think that he was going to take off as a player. And he did. So those are a couple of big misses.
Yeah. You know what mistake I don't think I'll make again? And this is not a well-tested theory, but I've been thinking for a while that McCarthy's one of these guys, like he's fiery guy, right? He's like, everybody's going to come with him. He's going to bring everyone, like Harbaugh's, all these. I remember the draft process. Everyone's going to be raving about McCarthy. They're checking all the boxes, the intangibles. First one in, last one out. Like bring everybody together, bring everybody along. Guy that goes like as hard as he goes at the eye black. I'm sorry.
Immediate red flags.
Yeah, we're not in high school anymore, kid. Like you got 30-year-old men here that you're in charge of leading, and like I don't know, playing dress up's a little much.
Wow.
Like just knock it off.
Zing.
The reason I'm saying there probably is, I hope I don't find out, but I probably will. Like somebody who's legendary that also painted his face like it was Halloween with the eye black.
John Randall.
But man, McCarthy, just get out of here.
Didn't John Randall for the Vikings?
Yeah, quarterbacks though.
Oh,
like the leader of the team. New guy at that, right? I mean, John Randall is one of the best ever, and he's 5 years into his career, and whatever, man. He wants to paint his face like a leopard. Go, knock yourself out. Guys are going to respect you because you can play. McCarthy's trying to win everybody over, and he's showing up like some gym class hero. I don't know. It's a little weird. So
I get it. Somebody said last year, somebody tell J.J. McCarthy it's not lacrosse.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
With the eye black.
I just think there's certain things you can do when you're in college that you should probably you're adulting now. Let's just leave that at the door. I'm not saying that's why he isn't working out, but like for me, that's not a look I'm fond of at all. I just think you're a grown up now.
What would you want to do if that were our team? He can't start week one. Like there has to be a better idea on the roster for the season when the season starts. And if he gets better, and I need him because of an injury or something like that, I don't need to cut him. But he cannot start. He cannot be my starting quarterback, I think.
Is there when the GM got fired? I felt like I read a long piece from our buddy Matthew Collar on it, and one other long piece, and I don't remember where I saw it, but and it might have just been on Twitter, not in a story by someone I admire and respect like Matt, but that O'Connell did like the Aaron Rodgers idea. I don't know if that's credible. I wonder if you got to lure him away from Pittsburgh, but I don't know that would have to be that hard. I don't know how attached Rodgers has to be to Mike McCarthy. I mean, I know they won together, and that might just be maybe it's a lock. If he's coming back, he's playing there. But I wonder if Minnesota could go hard after him and convince him, like, look, we got a better roster, we got better weapons. Come here, and I'm Kevin O'Connell. We'll make that sing, man. We will give you a final season that you deserve. For this to work, for this premise to be real at all, I have to be right about O'Connell liking that idea 2 years ago or last year.
It was talked about a lot last year, right? Minnesota?
Right, and if it's him that wanted it and the GM didn't, and that's why they didn't do it, maybe that has life.
Okay.
And I don't know that would be a great idea, but on this Rodgers sort of post-Green Bay tour he's been on, to me it would be the most credible idea so far, even though he's 3 years into this, post-Green Bay, two lost years with the Jets. Pittsburgh was, decent enough. I mean, they made the playoffs, won the division. I feel like O'Connell would give him the best chance to have the best year he could expect, at this stage of his career.
I kind of like it. I certainly like it for Jefferson.
Oh yeah, I mean
they have to do something else.
He's just gonna absolutely throw the ball to Jefferson 15 times a game.
Burrow and Chase, one of those.
Yeah,
great.
Him with Devontae is what I'm thinking. Like Rodgers with Devontae Adams. I'm just gonna feed the guy. I got a guy. I'm gonna feed him.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Back after this break. This is WGR. Valentine's Day tomorrow. They put it right after Friday the 13th. How does anybody expect to handle the swings? Friday the 13th, right into Valentine's Day, and then, of course, President's Day. It's a flood of activity and emotion. It's a deluge of emotions.
What am I supposed to do with the Daytona 500 on Sunday?
You are supposed to make fried bologna sandwiches, as is your tradition.
I definitely am planning to do that, but I did not really recognize it coinciding with Valentine's weekend, if you will. I mean, I know it's the day after.
Doesn't it always?
No. No. I mean, it's always on a Sunday, but Valentine's Day is not always on Saturday. So
that's the problem?
Yeah, they're
too close together?
I'm not even sure if it's a problem. I just didn't. It just sort of snuck up on me. We were, a few of us together for the Super Bowl, and like, is Daytona next Sunday already? Okay. I gotta get. I'm planning to uphold the tradition.
That I think is always the same.
That it's the Sunday after the Super Bowl. I feel like it's been a little later, like February 20 in the 20s a few times.
Well, next year, heads up, I believe
everything's late.
The Super Bowl is on Valentine's Day next year because the season starts the Sunday or the Thursday night, but the week after Labor Day. And Labor Day is the 7th. It's the latest it can be. So the 13th will be the first NFL Sunday, and basically everything's a week later.
Yeah.
And the Super Bowl will be February 14th, I think, is the date.
No.
So
have you, there's been some schedule stuff with the Australia game. Like, it seems pretty settled. I feel like a lot of people I follow are expecting that game to be week 1 and maybe even on a weeknight, like Wednesday before the Thursday opener for the Seattle, or moving Seattle to the Wednesday and having the Australia game on Thursday, just to give those teams the buffer. I also, somebody was, I don't know who it was now, was speculating that maybe they would play that game on like Labor Day Sunday. There's only one college game scheduled right now for that day.
Week 0?
Yeah.
Or is that even week -1? Week 0.
Yeah, I'm not sure which it is. But, it must be, because there wouldn't be only, it's a Sunday. But that sort of came and went. I haven't seen that really, like,
they're not going to make those teams start basically a week early, I think.
Right.
But maybe a few days early, you're saying.
Yeah.
Could happen?
Yeah.
It can't be the Friday.
Right. Well,
because of the high school thing.
Right, that's right.
The rules on high school sports.
Right. And that Brazil game that has been Friday following the Thursday opener, I've read might be like week 3.
It can't be week 1.
Right. So they're moving that around, and but mid-May for the schedule. I even saw a schedule of like the advance releases. Like when the networks will all put out, like, here's our game, right? And they're all like early in that week in mid-May. I can't remember the day, like 12th, 13th, 14th, and maybe the 15th will be the whole schedule. Somewhere in that pocket is what I've been reading. So
if they want help with it.
Right, well.
I mean, there's still time. I
thought maybe I'd be telling you all this and you'd be going like, I know all this already.
No, I mean, I didn't know much of it. I know that San Francisco was announced for the game in Mexico City. Or reported, at least, if not announced. But that the Niners might have 2 games, one in Australia and one in Mexico.
Because they are the Australia game, right? Which takes 2 division opponents away from the possibility of Seattle opening with one of them at home for that, for the banner night. Because the Rams and 49ers are playing week 1 in Australia.
So we think. Which does what to the options there? I don't have that memorized. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's Valentine's weekend. Of course, I wouldn't have this memorized.
I don't have their opponents.
But they play. I know they play New England at home. They play Dallas at home. That's always a possibility, right? Chicago.
Yeah,
I would say, and Kansas City. Kansas City at Seattle. But we said with the Chiefs, week 1 isn't the best idea because Mahomes might not be healthy.
Right. I think you're going to have a hard time really knowing that in May.
There's some good options here, even without the Niners and Rams.
I like Chicago. They did not meet in the playoffs, but they, both were big-time teams in the conference. So
I like it, too.
That might track.
And Dallas is, Dallas, right?
Yeah, right.
That's fine if they do that.
Yeah.
I think, anyway. It's watchable.
Yeah, definitely watchable.
The Bears somehow are, for once, also watchable.
Right. Incredibly, almost.
All right. Earlier today, Sam Panayotovich talking about the Super Bowl and some futures stuff. Is he back on the Bills? And you didn't hear it. Find out in just a few minutes. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
was Thursday, today it's Friday.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
We so excited, we gonna have a ball today. Tomorrow is Saturday.
I'm itching inside. My liver's all twisted up. But you know what I did? I took Deborah, went to the liquor store. I loaded up with alcohol, more specifically vodka, whiskey, beer, tequila, more beer, more vodka, more whiskey, and more beer.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
Thursday, today it's Friday.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
We so excited, a Saturday and
I'm itching inside. My liver's all twisted up. But you know what I did? I took Deborah, went to the liquor store. I loaded up with alcohol. More specific.